Hello and welcome to the final night of competition here in Jakarta, Indonesia for the UCI Track Nations Cup, thanks to Tissot Timing doing a fantastic job, and what a fantastic venue the Jakarta International Velodrome is. I'm Scott McGrory, joined in commentary, as always, over the last couple of days by Olympic medalists in the women's Omnium, Annette Edmondson. Annette, we're all fired up and ready to go. It's been sensational being here in Jakarta. The people have been so welcoming, and the racing has been extraordinary.
It certainly has. Day 3, so it's been hard and fast. We had qualification before that, so day 4, super exciting. Weather is hot. Today we've got 4 major events on the menu. So we have the women's Omnium, we have the women's sprint, Keirin, we have the men's sprint, and we have the men's Madison. So lots of action coming up tonight.
Absolutely. We will be kicking things off with the first discipline within the Women's Omnium series. It'll be the scratch race, and there is the program lineup for this evening. The Keirins, looking forward to seeing those as we progress through the rounds. Medals, of course, up for grabs. The men's sprint is into the semi-finals now as well. As we saw the women's Madison last night, we'll see the men's Madison on the program this afternoon. Denmark are leading the way in the medal tally at the moment, so they've done really well, just ahead of New Zealand. But there's still plenty of medals on offer on this final day here of competition in Jakarta, Indonesia. Some tired legs out there as well, because so many of these riders have been doubling up, tripling up in all the different events over the last couple of days. There's Alexandra Manley just coming up onto the track for Australia as well. So the women's Omnium scratch race, the first thing to get things underway in this afternoon program, the final day of competition here at the UCI Track Nations Cup. Still very hot and humid, as it has been each day. Sticky conditions to commentate in, but it's not too bad out on the track. It's a bit sweaty, but at least it's nice and warm and fast.
It is warm and fast, but we have got a beautiful velodrome. It was built in 2018 for the Asian Championships, and so they've got a bit of a mechanism that keeps the humidity down, so it's actually a little bit better in here than it is outside. I'm sure the riders do feel quite hot, though, once they're out and racing, but here we see the start list. So we have a great lineup for the Women's Omnium Scratch Race. So this is the first event of 4 for the Women's Omnium. So we have the Scratch Race, then we have the Tempo, then the Elimination, followed up with the Women's Points Race. So this is the best of 4 races. So what these riders are wanting to do is be the most consistent. So it's great to win, but we want to get the most amount of points by the end of the 4 events. So it's okay, you can afford to have a slip up every now and then, but it's best just to be as consistent as possible.
And we did see in the men's Omnium last night, the Belgian Lindsay de Velde dominated through the first 3 disciplines and then faded in the final points race. And that just, as to back up what you're saying, you need to be consistent. You can win this first scratch race, but you have to have good form throughout the other couple of races as well if you want to keep yourself in contention for the medals.
Yes, so we have a fabulous lineup. We have Nia Evans. She's from Great Britain, so she's been racing pretty well this week. She'll be looking to take the win here today. She's a Olympic medalist, silver in the team pursuit. Points race world champion. Then we also have Amelie de Dirksen. So she's a star of the track. She won the Madison last night with Julia Lett. She's also the road world champion from 2016. 2 times junior road world champ and silver in the Omnium at the 2018 World Championships. Anita van Stenberg, so she's Euro points and scratch race champion, and she's hungry because I think she had a bit of a slip up in the elimination on the first night of competition, so I know that she'll be hungry to do quite well. She absolutely smashed the qualifying earlier today, and you can see her in 2nd position as the girls roll off for the first lap of their scratch race. So as they come around, they will get the gun.
And that will signify 30 laps to go. The first rider across the line at the end will be the winner, unless laps have been taken. We'll explain that as the race goes on, if that scenario does eventually unfold.
Yep, so 30 laps for the women's scratch race today. So this is the first person across the line wins. So as Scott said, if there is a lap taken, that can change the game a little bit, but it's usually the easiest to follow this race. First across the line wins.
There was a lot of action this afternoon as well, the qualifying rounds and then the sprints and the Keirins as well for both the men and women And a lot of crashes, unfortunately. And so I can give you an update if you're watching from yesterday, as we just go into the early paces here, and the pace originally isn't on just yet, as they've got 29 laps to go. The men's Keirin, there was a big crash involving Sam Dakin from New Zealand, and unfortunately for him, he did break his collarbone in that crash. He jumped up onto his bike and walked across the finish line just to make sure he completed, so he can get some points for the overall national the Track Nations Cup series. So gutsy effort to walk across the line with a broken collarbone.
Yeah, he looked like he knew what had happened straight away, just sitting there with his arm bent over, and it's no good in a bike race. But at least his head's all right, and it's a bones can heal. But yeah, he's been going so well, so it is a shame to see that in the first Nations Cup of the season.
It's an occupational hazard, isn't it? And collarbones in particular. I don't know too many international elite cyclists that haven't broken a collarbone. Unfortunately, it's one of the easiest bones to break when you do crash at 60, 70 kilometres per hour onto the side. But Sam should be okay, and he'll be back in a few weeks ready and racing again. 26 laps to go now. The women's scratch race, the first discipline within the 4-event race that is known as the Omnium. After this, they'll have the tempo race, then the elimination, and then finishing up with the points race at the very end. So the hardest of all disciplines is what they finish. It really does make it difficult, and that was what changed the format or the overall standing so much in the men's race yesterday. They're so fatigued by the time they get to the end of the points race. Really difficult for these riders to continue that kind of effort right throughout. Plus the fact they have the qualifying heats this afternoon as well. So it's 5 races if you want to get into the medals at the end.
Certainly is. And there we just saw, so in second wheel, Clara Caponi from France. So she is a bit of a superstar in the Omnium. She's done this many times before. Multiple medalists at the World Championships, so she'll be looking for a result today. Lily Williams swinging up here. She's also Olympic bronze medalist in the team pursuit. Also have to mention Yumi Kajihara from Japan, so she is a superstar as well. She got a silver at the Olympic Omnium in Tokyo, as well as being a world champion. So yeah, I think she's certainly going to be one to look at. So that's Emily Derrickson, and on her wheel is Yumi Kajihara. So keep an eye out for that little pocket rocket from Japan.
She was 13th at last year's World Championships, but you can just imagine on home soil in Tokyo how special it would have been to be standing on the podium at a home Olympic Games. Can she do it again in a couple of years? Well, next year in Paris. And that's what makes these races now so important as well. If you don't know anything about the Nations Cup, it's about getting points as well. It's not just the fact that they do get to win medals here and stand on the top of an international level podium. It is also about the long game, collecting points here to qualify for the World Championships and then therefore go through into the Olympic year next year. So it's a long haul to get to the Olympic Games. You must qualify through these Nations Cups, and that's what makes it so important to perform well.
Yep, so there's about 5 Track Nations Cups around the globe. So this is the first time it's been in Indonesia. So Jakarta is very excited to have an international event in their major city. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I don't know about you, Scott, but
absolutely, Annette, for sure. Cairo is on the list as well of Nations Cup as well, so first time for them. So great to actually be expanding cycling. They really want to make it global, and that's what they're doing here with the Track Nations Cups coming to places like Jakarta and Cairo.
Yeah, so the pace is not very high at the moment. Everybody is quite content to roll around. They're all taking turns, swinging up, keeping an eye out. So this looks like most of them are interested in a bunch kick. We might start to see it start to heat up. New Zealander Ali Wollaston, she just swung up to the top. She won the elimination on night 1 as well as the team pursuit, so she is on some hot form. She's relatively new. She's 22 years of age. She was supposed to race the Commonwealth Games this year, but she unfortunately broke a collarbone in the Tour de France about a week or 2 before. So that would have been that was going to be a big one for her, I think, on the international stage. So I think she's relatively new, but she's one to watch. I think this next year is going to be a huge year for her.
And the 2 gold medals she won here, they were on the first day of competition. She didn't race yesterday, so has had a bit of time to freshen up a little bit. That'll give her a good chance here in the Omnium.
I think so. I think I'll be keeping an eye out for her. She's got a great endurance. The way she rode the elimination showed she just had the legs. She went from the front, then she went to the back, she pipped off a few, then she went back to the front. So she was moving around, looked like she was absolutely flying. So She also does a bit on the road. As I mentioned briefly before, she was at the Tour Down Under this year. She had a win in the Schwalbe Classic, which was just before the Tour Down Under kicked off. So that was against all the World Tour teams. So that just shows what type of potential she has, because she was riding with the New Zealand national team there. So very exciting.
They'll come around to get 12 laps to go, and the pace has been off. So this is going to look like a big bunch sprint at the end, super fast. Then we start to look at the pure sprinters. If they can get themselves into the right position and don't get boxed in, they'll have a big advantage here.
Yeah, we have Olivia Bolasaita. She's just swinging up from Lithuania, so she had a crash in the elimination on night 1, pulled out. So good to see her up and riding again. Also, if you look towards the back, there is Alexandra Manley. She's got the green and gold stripes. She's right on the back at the moment, but she is the points race world champion from 2019, also Team Pursuit world champion. And so she likes to take laps and get off the front. So we'll be sure to see some moves from her coming up.
And for a rider like Manley, as you talk about her towards the back of the bunch, they'll come around, they get 10 laps to go now. Not a pure sprinter type that you would normally think would go for a win in the scratch race, but they all need to be really attentive to where they finish in this, because first across the line gets 40 points for the overall standings. But if you're not a pure sprinter, then you have to ride really smart to make sure that you still finish somewhere up there in the top 5, top 6 to maximise the points you can gain from the disciplines that perhaps you're not the best suited to.
Exactly, and so I think this is where riders would have certain goals for certain races. So for a non-sprinter, to getting a top 5, a top 10 even, sometimes they'll be happy with that. And yeah, so just focusing on what you can control and trying to manipulate the race as much as you can to perform and to suit you.
High on the track, up on the outside from Canada, that's Collier. And you can see them really bunched up now. They'll come around to get 7 laps to go. They should be all as fresh as they possibly can be.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to the front. Everybody is waiting for this sprint. No one wants to make that first move. So, as you say, it's been a relatively easy bike race so far, so it's going to be hot and fast. And once the sprint drops down to the bottom of the track, it's going to be really hard to move up. So that's why everybody's fighting, trying to stay towards the front. You can see the swarm. Anita von Stenborg, she's up the top, ready to pounce. She's
right at the very top, isn't she, the Norwegian? Stenberg, Wollaston from New Zealand in the black colours now up at the top of the fence. They'll come around to get 5 laps to go, almost into the final kilometre now. And while they're saving energy for this final sprint, if you get boxed in the middle of the peloton there and cannot get yourself out, you need to get some room. You may blow your chances of getting a high result.
That's it. So when they come around, it'll be 4 laps to go. Olivia Belasaida, she's happy to sit on the front. Alex Manley in second wheel. We have Emily de Dieriksen starting to come around.
And 4 laps to go now into the final kilometre. You can see they're still bunched up, tightly packed, but the pace really starting to pick up. Caponi from France on the outside, so 3 abreast as they go down the back straight. They'll come around to get 3 laps to go now. And it's the former world road race champion from Denmark, Dieriksen, on the front. And Stenberg now goes to the front as well.
Clara Caponi on her hip. It's starting to heat up. In this type of move, you just want to be near the front, because if you get too far back, you're not going to get many points. So everybody's fighting. It's better to be closer to the front if you can. 2 laps to go. Nita von Stenberg still in the front. Nia Evans coming around the outside.
Big move from Nia Evans from Great Britain now. She goes down the back straight. The points race world champion, Ali Wollaston's trying to come up around her as well. Bell this time, 40 points on offer for the win of the scratch race. And Wollaston is going to match Nia Evans as they go into the back straight. Stenberg in 3rd position. Fighting on the inside is Evans trying to hold on to a top position. And there's been a nasty crash. Several riders going down. Wollaston it will be that gets the win. Just ahead of Nia Evans, who really started that sprint very early indeed. Stenberg was also up there. De Dieriksen from Denmark in the mix. Caponi, Zanardi, several of the top riders, but we look with concern to see who were the riders that touched down in that final lap.
I can see it was Alex Manley from Australia, Devaney Collier from Canada, and Yumi Kajihara from Japan. Alex Manley's up on her bike, rolling around. Yumi is sitting up. But Collier does look like she's in a bit of pain. She is moving. But this is the downside of this bike race. When people are fresh, people are twitchy, people are trying to get out and forward so they can get a better result. So yeah, once one person goes down, there's not a lot of room to avoid it, and people go over the top.
And good point, Nettie, because in a normal scratch race, if you're underneath 10th, 12th position or so, you might think, well, I'm out of the chance of getting a medal. But every position counts. So everyone within that peloton will keep fighting and pushing forward to make sure they get as close to the front as they possibly can. Last couple of laps really were a great fight, though. Wollaston clearly out in front. Super fast ride from Ali from New Zealand. You can see the crash at the top of the screen has already happened as they've come across the finish line. So a lot of the big favourites, the riders we were talking about, were right there at the pointy end, making sure they keep themselves well in contention in the overall standings.
Oh, there's Yumi. Looks like she's in a bit of pain. She was in the Madison last night, and unfortunately her teammate also hurt her knee and had to pull out of the race. So I think we're going to have a quick look at the crash here.
Right in the middle of the field.
So it was
and Collier it was that went down first.
Yep, so she clipped the wheel, went on the inside, took out Yumi, and then unfortunately Alex Manley had nowhere to go. So yeah, no one means to cause these things, but it's just, this is hard, fast racing.
Everyone's fighting for position, isn't it?
Yep, exactly. So good to see them up and up. This is Ali Wollaston. She's had a bit of a punchy kick on there, didn't she?
Well, it was very rapid, really fast finish, and Nia Evans certainly wasn't holding back. She went as hard as she could coming to the last couple of laps, but then Wollaston was that had the superior speed, picks up the 40 points after winning the scratch race ahead of Nia Evans and the former world road champion Amelia de Dirksen. Stenberg up there also, and as you go down through the list, there you can see how the points relate to where they finished across the line and why it's so important when you're in the middle of the field to keep pushing forward, and that's what caused the crash, unfortunately, with Collier, the first one to go down.
Yes, this is going to be tough for Alex Manley. So she got 1 point in that race. So she was up in the top 10 when she came down. So now she's going to have to fight and come back from that. But the thing is, there's not many opportunities to race against the best in the world before the Olympic Games. So every race is an opportunity to learn and try something new and try and increase your position in this race to gain points, but two, learn as much as you can, figure out what riders like to do, and it's all learning ahead of the games.
We have seen a lot of Mark Fulcher in the broadcast, unfortunately. Technical director for the UCI here at the Nations Cup, but he's on the track just inspecting where the crash was, and they have had a few track repairs just to make sure it's as safe as possible for the continuation of the competition.
And this is a big shame for Yumi. So she's okay, but I think she's got a lot of pain in her knee, so they're stretching her off to make sure she doesn't do any further damage. But this is really disappointing for her. Obviously, she have a lot of support out here in the crowd. We're not very far from Japan, and she's on the hunt to build back towards the Olympics. So I was really excited to see what she could do.
A little bit of time out for her over the next couple of weeks to repair the body, get mended, and she'll be back for Track Nations Cup throughout the rest of the season towards the World Championships in Glasgow later this year in August. And for the local crowd, good news for them as well, because in the men's Madison qualifying heats this afternoon, their team made it through into the final. So they'll be supporting an Indonesian team in the men's Madison later today.
Yeah, it's awesome to see when one of the Indonesian riders does well, the crowd goes wild, so I'm a big fan. Here we are, one of our Japanese riders.
Keirin Ota, he's coming up in the men's sprint semi-finals. He'll be racing against Mikhail Yakovlev. And in the first of the races, it's the world champion Harry Leverdason up against Yao Zhu from China. Big contingent of staff, not just with riders, but staff also with Team GB here in Jakarta. They know the importance of these Track Nations Cups in terms of qualification for the Paris Olympic Games next year.
Yeah, it's a long way for those boys to travel out to Indonesia. We're excited. Those on this side of the world, we're happy to have an event here, but it means the Europeans and the British and the Americans have a bit of a distance to travel.
We can see the start list of the next event that's about to come up onto the track. The fastest cyclist on the planet, the men's sprinters. But they still are just checking the track to our left at the started the finishing straight, so just making sure that everything's still right. So that's where there is this just very slight delay in the program while they make sure the track is ready to go. Zhu and Levriesen, the world champ in the middle. Keirin world champion as well, and he won the Keirin on yesterday's program. Can he go back-to-back and win the sprint here as well? Certainly the favourite. And the qualifying times, for those of you that understand the speed and the times that these riders can do in overflowing 200 metres, extraordinarily fast times today in qualifying. Harry Levriesen rode 9.385 seconds, an average speed of 76.7 kilometres per hour to qualify the fastest. He was the only rider to go faster than 76 k's an hour. That's the average speed over the 200 metres. So his absolute peak speed would have been faster than that. It's quite extraordinary. Yakovlev, who's made it through to the semi-finals, the big man, he was the second fastest with a 9.49. Jeffrey Hoogland, who actually qualified third fastest, the Dutchman, hasn't made it through into the semi-finals. So a little bit disappointing for Jeff. He won't be too happy with that.
Yeah, it went down to 3 against Yu Zhao. So that was a pretty tough one. They've already had 3 major races just before this, not excluding the qualifications and the next round. So
it's tough for the sprinters. It's really tough for them. You look at them here and say, okay, just a pure sprint, 3 laps of the track, but all the rounds that they've had today, plus the Keirins yesterday, plus the team sprints on the first day of competition. So by the time they get to the sprint here on the final day, they have had so many maximum efforts. And these days, the gear ratio on the bike is so big that it's every time they do a race, it is truly a maximum effort. They cannot do a race on the size of gearing that they have on these bikes and do it comfortably. So you have to keep backing up race after race, day after day, and that's something that Harry Levriesen has continually proved that he's capable of doing. Track is clear, and the men's sprint semi-finals coming up onto the start line now. Zhu from China up against the world champion Harry Levriesen. The fastest qualifier versus the 5th fastest qualifier. And for Zhu, he was a 9.599, just over 75 kilometres per hour was the average speed in the qualifying 200 earlier today.
So Levriesen, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 10-time world champion. So he knows his stuff.
That's a fair palmarès.
Yeah, 4 team sprint world titles, 3 times sprint world titles, and 3 Keirin world titles. So yeah, he's very well accomplished.
He is the best sprinter of his generation. Let's see how long his legacy will last. Of course, he's hoping to go through and repeat those Olympic performances in Paris in 2024.
And only 25 years of age. I think he's going to be around for a bit longer.
Could have another 10 years in him.
Yeah. 3 laps to go.
Zhu on the front. He knows that Levriesen is the faster of the 2 riders. So tactically, has to do something really interesting to make sure he can get the better of Levriesen. But Harry is a great tactician as well, so it's going to be hard to get the better of the speed and, of course, the craft that the Dutchman does possess. And you can see really toying with each other here. Levriesen not willing to go to the front just yet, just trying to put some pressure onto Zhu as they come to the bell. Zhu does have a bit of control of the race. He looks calm, but look at the extra speed. He was sleeping a little bit on the front there. And Harry Levriesen straight up around the outside. This is a really easy victory in the semi-final. It's the best of 3, and that's 1-0 for Harry Levriesen. That was much easier than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, he looked like he had it all under control, didn't he? He started to wind it up, and when he went, Zhu just didn't seem to have the legs. Couldn't wind up his gear as much. Perhaps he's on a slightly bigger gear. He also did just have another race just beforehand, whereas Levriesen, he was able to relax, put the feet up. Here we go. This is where Levriesen's coming around. So much speed, and Zhu doesn't have a lot to follow. So luckily for Levriesen, he was able to sit up coming into that home straight. Could relax. He's got 1 more to go.
And that is one of the advantages being in second position, isn't it? You can monitor right in front of you the speed and the effort and the body language that the lead rider is giving, whereas you can't do that when you are the leader, trying to look back at the rider behind you and, of course, trying to watch where you're going. On form, Harry Levriesen, goes 1 up in the best of 3 series in the semi-finals. On to semi-final number 2, and it's Keirin Ota from Japan up against Mikhail Yakovlev, formerly racing for Russia, now riding for Israel, and he is an absolute man-mountain. Super fast. He's shown so much power and speed through the Keirins, picking up a medal there, and also through the qualifying second fastest for him with the 9.4.
He certainly is tall, 199 centimetres to be exact, 103 kilograms. He's up against Keirin Ota, so he is the young superstar from Japan at 23 years of age. Well, Mikhail's actually 22, so they're both young. But Keirin, he's got a background in rowing, went to his first World Champs last year and came away with a 10th, which is pretty impressive.
I just had to look that up. So 199 centimetres, 6 feet 6. So 6'6". And as a cyclist, plenty of sports where that's not even that tall, but as a cyclist, as you can see on the track, it is quite unusual to see such a big man. Hasn't seemed to hinder him in the slightest, though. Really powerful unit. Keirin Ota, one of the shortest of the sprinters, along with Azizul Awang. And that's who Yakovlev put to the sword in the quarterfinals. He got the better of the former Keirin world champion, Awang from Malaysia. And now he's up against another short-statured rider in Keirin Ota.
Yeah, that's right. Yakovlev did have a best of 3 as well, so he won the second and the third, so...
Yeah. And look, the height, short, tall, doesn't really matter. It's all about speed and power and craft at this level. Ota it is that's going to be leading, though, into the final lap. This is the first of their best of 3 competition in the men's semi-final. And Yakovlev hard on the wheel of Keirin Ota and doesn't really get much of a run at the back wheel. I'm not sure if he needs it. He has an incredible amount of power in those big legs as he comes into the finishing straight, but not enough power.
Wow.
Well, that's going against the trend. Yakovlev was the faster in qualifying, but Keirin Ota showing a little bit more craft. So a good ride from him.
Wow.
Benoit Vetu, coach for Japan, very pleased with that.
He is very pleased. That looked like Yakovlev was running at him, was going to be able to take it. But then there was just that extra squeeze from Keirin Ota through the bend. He got on top of these gears. The Japanese are known for riding big gears, so they come home strong. And yeah, he managed to pull that off across the line. Very exciting.
Well, Yakovlev just needed to give maybe another half bike length to be able to run at the back wheel a little bit more. I felt like he was sort of a bit too close to wheel, and as he comes into the back straight here, you'd see he just steps up. Ota also stepped out of the red a little bit also there, and then caught on the hip. He just didn't, into that final bend, get far enough around the outside of Ota to get the advantage of running downhill in the finishing straight. So really good tactical riding there from Keirin Ota to get the win.
Yeah, it looked like Mikhail Yakovlev perhaps ran at Keirin Ota a little bit too soon, so he came out of bend number 2. So it meant he was on the hip the entire final bend, which means he has to go a lot further around. It zaps the legs a little bit, and yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not a sprint champion, but
well, tactically we know what to do.
Yeah.
We're just not fast enough to do it.
Yeah. But no, great racing from the 2.
Absolutely. And it is all about timing, where you time your effort as you're running to the rider in front or running at the rider in front to time it into the bend so you don't get hooked up on the outside, as you said, Nettie. Women's Keirin second round now. Christina Clonan from Australia, Zhang from China, also Bayona from Colombia, very fast. Ota, another quick Japanese rider. Van der Waal is also there. And Elise Andrews, the Commonwealth Games champion from New Zealand. First 3 riders will go through into the final.
Yep, so there's been a few rounds already so far, and the riders that miss out have been able to go through repecharges, which means they get another shot at getting back in. So this time it's the top 3 go through and the top 3 miss out. So the top 3, the second, so 4 to 6 will head off to the 7 to 12 final. But yes, it's do or die in this one.
Elise Andrews just giving the indication that she drew number 3, and that's where she is, right there in the black colours. The silver fern. Rich sprint history New Zealand has.
So the women's Keirin, it's 6 laps. The Derny, which is a special bike that's made for the track, will come around. They'll blow the gun, and all the riders have to go into formation behind the Derny. So they have to stay in the order that they are in. So Christina Clonan from Australia, she's pulled number 1, so she has to go behind the bike. And they have to stay in that position for at least, is it half a lap or 1 lap?
For the, they have to be into position by the end of half a lap.
Yep.
That's the clear.
And they have to stay for 1 lap, but then they can start to move around. And as long as they don't go past the Derny until the Derny swings off at 3 laps to go, then it's game on.
There's Andrews, Bayona from Colombia. She looked really comfortable, very fast coming through the earlier rounds. Right at the very back there, we can see Ryu Ota from Japan. Just in front of her is Hetty van der Waal from the Netherlands, Bayona, Andrews, Zhang from China, and Clonan on the front for Australia. Now, you know Christina Clonan really well, Nettie. She was part of the Australian track endurance program, didn't quite make the team pursuit team for World Championships, and then switched to sprint, yeah?
Yep, I reckon she was 1 or 2 to miss out, so it was really close up there, but then she decided she wanted to have a crack at the sprint, and so this means that she's relatively new. She's the 500-metre Commonwealth Games champion, so brilliant at that, but this is where she's going to try and gain as much experience as she can, so pretty quick. She's on the Derny, looking over her shoulder. The gaps are starting to open up now.
3 to go. Bike comes off. Clonan on the front. Zhao in second position. The first 3 riders will go through to the next round. So you get plenty of chances here. It's really cutthroat through the early rounds, but here with the top 3, it's a little bit easier, but you do not want to make mistakes. Clonan trying to save energy. Now 2 laps to go. Zhang comes up around the outside of her. Andrews fighting as well. 3 wide with Bayona right down in the middle there in the blue colours. Clonan accelerates. Andrews also. Now they're coming to the bell. Andrews will hit the 1 lap to go first. Clonan needs to fight on the inside to try and stay in the slipstream. Looks like she might be able to do that. Down the back straight, Elise Andrews looks comfortable as she was going to make her way through into the next round. She'll be racing for the medals tonight, as will Christina Clonan and Hetty van der Waal. They are the first 3 riders.
Wow.
They've booked their ticket into the gold medal race.
There you go. Great ride from Elise Andrews. So she got flicked out. She had to go really wide early on. Then she took the initiative, went straight to the front. She is the Olympic silver medalist in this event. So she's also quite new. She also swapped over from endurance riding. So she was a junior world champion in the individual pursuit. And then she swapped over to the sprint, has found immediate success. And so whilst she's relatively new, she's already a very talented 3-time Commonwealth Games champion. And she'll be very happy with that. She had to work really hard for it, but once she got to the front, she just accelerated and built all the way through. So really exciting for her. Christina Clonan will be absolutely stoked after that. She had to go through the repechage to get that win. And Hetty van der Waal, the 24-year-old from Netherlands, she'll be really excited about that one too. She's a gold in the team sprint at the Euro Champs in 2021 and 2 times bronze at the European Champs last week. So she's also one to watch.
In the blue colours there, we see Marta Bayona. She'll be a little bit disappointed, but had nowhere to go, unfortunately for her. Looked really quick in the early rounds, but just ran herself into the pocket. Couldn't get out. Good strong riding from Elise Andrews. Got to give you some confidence. And I think there was a smile on the face there from Christina Clonan, knowing that she's made it into the final. That is a sensational performance for her. Well done, Christina. On to the second heat now. In the second round of the women's Keirin. And we can see here's the confirmation. Nice and clean as well. We have had lots of relegations yesterday in the men's Keirin rounds, but that was a perfectly smooth race for the first of the second round for the women. Mathilde Gros, she won the sprint competition yesterday. She's the world sprint champion. She lines up here as one of the big favourites alongside Emma Vernuken at the bottom of the track with the blue stripe on the helmet. Emma Hinze, former world champion in the Keirin. There she is, the German. Mina Sato, Fuko Umekawa, the 2 Japanese riders, one riding for Japan, one riding for a trade team, and then Ursula Loss from Poland.
Mino Sata, 24-year-old from Japan. She's apparently the best Keirin rider in Japan. Silver at the World Championships in the Keirin in the last 2 years, so she'll certainly be one to watch. A few gaps opening up, but they'll slide into position quickly.
And very slow into position, actually, Mina Sato. But no infringement. I know the officials here do get quite particular about how quickly or slowly they get themselves into position. There was a restart in the men's race because they took too long to form up into their spots behind the bike. Finucane on the motorcycle, on the electric Derny. It used to be a bit of a gas-guzzling, noisy Derny they used back in the day. They've gone now to the electric powered, so nice and smooth, very quiet as well, and environmentally friendly. Finucane constantly looking over his shoulder. This is the rider that she'll be looking out for as well, Mathilde Gros.
Yes, she won the sprint last night in fabulous fashion, two rounds every round. So she's on some very hot form. She is the current sprint world champion from France. And that's Emma Hinze on the back. She's no stranger to the Keirin, as you said, multiple world champion, many times in the Keirin.
Bike comes off, 2.5 laps to go now, coming down the back straight. And it is Sato was the first to make a move around the outside of Finucane, the 20-year-old Welsh rider, bronze medalist in the sprint in yesterday's competition. So now it's a drag race as they go down the back straight with 1.5 to go. Mathilde Gros, first one to see the bell when they come around this time. On her wheel is Umekawa in the black colours, riding for the Japanese trade team. Very high on the track of the back, though. Emma Hinze, she looks to be completely out of contention. First 3 to go through. Mathilde Gros just starting to labour a little bit. She's been on the front for a long time now. Umekawa trying to come up for second. She will get second. And on the outside, I think it was Mina Sato. So they'll be the 3 riders that will go through. Mathilde Gros, Sato, and, what was it, Loss? What do you mean, Loss on the inside as well. So wait for the official confirmation as that comes up. But a very strong ride, though, from Mathilde Gros.
That was. She took the initiative, went right to the front. As you say, she was on the front for a long time. She went early, about 2 laps to go. So she had to build through it. She took a lot of confidence from her win last night. And, yeah, she's managed to hold off. So she's going to head off the track, recover as much as she can ahead of those finals. So
That is indeed. Mathilde Gros was clearly the first across the line. Second was Fuko Umekawa in the black colours, riding for the Japanese trade team. And then Minasato, the second of the Japanese riders, third across the line. So 2 Japanese riders going into the final. That's the focus. It's been good to watch the focus of her. And yesterday, after she got the win in the sprint, finally, happy, big smiles, and showed her true colours. But she's absolute a beast when it comes to the racing. She wants to win.
yes, she's very serious until it's all done and dusted for the evening. So, like you said, she's a very friendly, lovely girl. She's
I say that with respect.
She
On the
is.
bike, she is a beast. Absolutely, you need to be.
Absolutely, yep. Fierce competitor. And I think she's so fierce because she's probably the only one with the clear visor. So I'm sure there's a few more out there, but they've chosen the dark, metallic, mirrored lenses. So it's great when you do actually see that strong focus. So
Big surprise in 6th place, Emma Hinze, former world champion in this discipline. So that's not a great result for her. Emma Finucane, she got the bronze in the sprint, so she'll be happy with the results she's had this week. I'm sure she would have liked to make it into the finals as well, though. Second race for the semi-finals, the elite men. And the world champ won up against Yazoo. And really did that in easy fashion as well. Zhu is certainly no slouch, though. He has a lot of speed. He may need to surprise Harry Levreisen if he's going to get the better of the world champ, though.
So this is the sprint, so the cat and mouse event. This is where they stalk their prey. You pick a number, so it determines where if you're going to be first or second. So they've swapped positions in the second race. So Zhao is on the back, we've got Levreisen on the front, and this is where they're looking at each other, trying to either force the other one to go first. Zhao looks like he's interested in going to the front. Levreisen is looking over his shoulder. The pace is starting to wind up.
Shadow boxing is what he's doing, ducking and weaving, trying to force Harry to accelerate and waste energy. Now getting a little bit of height. Every time the rider in second position gains height on the track, the rider at the front, if they're not too silly, will accelerate to drag them back down the track. That's what he's done. The gap has really opened up. Levreisen's a world champion. He's the fastest man here in Jakarta. You cannot give a guy with those sorts of speeds that kind of distance. So it's an easy victory for Harry Levreisen. 2 straight, and he'll be racing for gold or silver later on today.
Yep, totally under control. Yep. It's hard to know whether Yu Zhao was wanting to take the front or whether he was forcing Harry Levreisen to go faster, but Levreisen was happy at the front. He defended his position, always aware, always watching, and yeah, that gap was just too big. Once they started racing, the gap was too big. So, congrats to Harry. He's into the finals.
That was just before they went up onto the track, and while Yuzhou was smiling and seemed happy to be in the semis, Harry Levrason, he was serious. He could tell he had his real game face on, and that's how he approached that sprint. So I think caught napping, even though he was in second position and could see what was going on. Yuzhou was napping a little bit, just gave way too much distance to the world champ.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The style, the preparation that different riders go through. So are people serious? Are people relaxed? I think we spoke about this last night or on the first night. The Canadian team sprinters are known for being quite relaxed on the start line, having a joke. But yeah.
That was me. I was a bit more like that. It was more of a distraction to create a diversion and then switch on when the race itself started. Keirin Ota is one up in there, best of 3 in the second of the semi-final heats up against Mikhail Yakovlev. Yakovlev, after drawing position number 2 in the first race, now obliged to go into position number 1, and therefore he must lead for the first half lap. And as we usually see, very slow speeds anyway. Once they do go down the back straight and cross that halfway point, they are allowed to stop there and balance to try and force the rider in second position to come forward to the first spot.
Yakovlev looking over his shoulder. What I liked about Yakovlev in his previous round, in the quarters, he actually caught Azazul Awang napping, so he went from the front. So you never know what to expect in this type of racing. They're going up high on the track.
Well, they train for pure speed, don't they? But then it's the tactics and the craft that you then must have to make sure you can outdo your opponent regardless of how much speed you or they have.
Exactly. The only thing that matters is going across this line first. So whether you do it full gas from the start or whether you leave it till the end. But these guys are winding it up now. Keirin Ota has taken Yakovlev by surprise, it seems.
He has. Look over the shoulder as well. And a big acceleration at the bottom of the track from Yakovlev is required, and he's already given up. He's realised that he let that one go. Keirin Ota, we're talking about racecraft. Well, Keirin Ota, the Japanese rider, had so much more than Mikhail Yakovlev on that occasion. So the big man has pure speed, but he has to work on his tactics and his racecraft because Keirin Ota is going through to race Harry Levrason for the medals.
That was amazing. That was awesome. It looked like it was all under control, but then as soon as Mikhail Yakovlev looked forward, Keirin Ota pounced. And he wound that gear up, he went straight around, and by that point, Mikhail Yakovlev didn't have enough time to wind that gear up, and the gap had opened up.
You have to really think on your feet, don't you? In a situation like that, I imagine that Ota would have thought that Yakovlev was going to start to accelerate, and once he realised he didn't, took the advantage. Had a bit of extra height on the velodrome down the back straight, accelerate up around the outside. And with the gears that they're using now, there's no way that you can accelerate from a lap and a half to go from a slow speed and then catch someone as quick as Ota. Good sprinting from the Japanese rider. It'll be interesting to see how he can go against the world champion, Harry Levrason, when they race for gold later on today. Next coming up onto the program is the second discipline in the women's Omnium, and that's the tempo race. 30 laps of the track, and after a couple of neutral laps, they then have 1 point awarded to the first rider across the line on each and every lap. If you're able to gain a lap on the field, you will get 20 points. But this happens thick and fast. Every lap, bang, 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 just attacks and sprints trying to pick up that 1 point. And Eddie, you were an Olympic medalist in this discipline, in the Omnium. The tempo itself, it's so difficult sometimes, isn't it? You put in a full gas sprint, finish second, waste a lot of energy and get nothing for it.
That's it. The only point that you get is for the win over each lap. So It's 30 laps. The first 5 laps are actually neutral, so people can get settled in. They are allowed to go off the front if they want. That can be their tactic, but they won't get any points until 25 laps to go. As you said, 1 point across the line, so you've got to time it well. So if you're looking at this person in front of you and they're a sprinter and they might be faster than you, then you might actually opt not to go for that sprint and wait for the next one. Do you go off the front and try and get a few in a row? Do you take turns in a breakaway with somebody else? There's so many different ways to win this race, and every single tempo race is different. It's relatively new, so it's only been around for a few years. It was raced at the recent Olympic Games. Each time, the Omnium was introduced in 2012, but it was 6 events over 2 days. In 2016, they rotated the order of events, so it was slightly different. But then at the recent games, it's been reduced to 4 events, but they're all bunch races. So the tempo is relatively new, and people are always learning. So it's very exciting. It's often quite hard to follow, so we'll do our best. But yeah, this is a really hard race and hard to predict.
Mia Evans from Great Britain, she sits in 2nd place after the scratch race, with Ali Wollaston is the leader at the top of the track. Mia Evans, 2nd position at the moment. The overall standings down at the bottom of the track. And you talk about learning, having to learn for these new events like the tempo, but it's also learning about how to train for the new format of the Omnium. With the one that you rode, with some sprint events and fast events and time trials, that's completely different training.
Yep, there were timed events. So there was a 500-metre time trial, a flying sprint, and then there was an individual pursuit. So to go from that to all of a sudden just lots of bunch races, it is quite different. So it can take a different type of rider and takes different types of tactics, and that's why these events are so important to gain that experience and race at this type of level.
We did see the man in the blue shirt, which is Wayne Pomario, one of the race officials. The official starter gets them underway, and he's also the official that decides when to neutralise the race if there's been a mishap or a crash and riders that are in a dangerous position on the inside of the field.
Yep, so if there's a crash, the race is neutralised. Well, 5 laps if the UCI officials see it fit, and sometimes if they need to stop the race for the rider's safety, they can do that too, and then it comes down to a restart. So fingers crossed everyone stays upright.
Fairly new race within the modern Omnium format, the tempo. And as they're just cruising themselves around, Ziwing Li down towards the back. And the next one to come up after this for the Omnium riders will be the elimination, and then we'll finish with the points race at the very end.
It's like Mia Griffin from Ireland is wanting to head off the front. So as we said, she's welcome to do that. She won't get any points for a few laps. But it can be a good move if she can get a big enough gap on the peloton. And then she can start to chip away. If she takes a lap, she also gets 20 points. So,
well, they are giving us some distance here, Nettie. So this it's going to be tough for her to sustain the effort for the next couple of laps to guarantee she's out there for when the points are starting to be allocated. But the peloton's not chasing. This is really interesting to see what can happen here.
Yep, they're looking pretty relaxed. She's already got a half a lap on the field within 2 laps of racing. So I think that she might make this lap.
If they don't pick up the pace, she will indeed come around and latch onto the back of the peloton. She'll gain 20 points for the effort.
She's looking across. She's looking pretty comfortable. She's pretty happy about this.
And there's no point in wasting time now. She might as well just dig really deep and try and get to the back of the peloton. Yep. So the first of the points laps. From now on, every lap, 1 point awarded to the first rider across the line. And when there's a rider off the front like this, often the peloton try to actually go really slow to let them get their lap and at least have them give themselves a chance to start sprinting for points again. But there's been an acceleration back in the main field. Griffin picks up the first point. So Mia Griffin from Ireland will be the early leader on 1 point. But the acceleration back in the peloton could be causing her some damage in the next couple of laps. She has not been able to take the lap just yet.
See the numbers here. So here we have Chinese Taipei. So that's Yingting Huang. So she's heading off the front now. So Mia Griffin is still getting all the points because she is off the front. So these riders that are chasing, they either have to commit and try and bring back Mia Griffin and then go past her to start getting points, or they have to sit up in the bunch and wait for Mia Griffin to come back before they can start making points again. So sometimes you've got to time it. So if you think that Mia Griffin's about to take the lap, then you can attack off the front, because then it means that as soon as she makes it, then you might already have a gap on the field and can go through and start taking points. So the peloton's eased a bit. Mia Griffin's still out the front, taking points. This will be her 4th point.
Not too bad. And it does, when she swings off camera there, but she did swing up the track a little bit going around that final bend. She's now back down the bottom of the track, so she can hold on for at least another lap and another point. That'll take her tally to 5. Peloton in the back straight. It's really sprawled out across the track.
I think it's if she's not doing it too tough out there, then I think I would stay there. But yeah, you don't want to go into the red, because you want to be able to get back into that peloton.
There has been a crash in the front straight though. So 2 riders going down in the front straight. That's really unfortunate. We can see Velasco from Mexico. She doesn't look too happy about that at all. Looks really hurt, unfortunately. Another point win, though, for Griffin out in front. She goes on to 6 points now. They have not neutralised the race, so they are continuing on. And you can see there on the inside what's happened. The 2 riders coming together.
Ooh.
And also, Lily Williams is having a problem also off camera. So Lily Williams from the United States was involved in that. You can see her there, the American, with her hand in the air. So the riders may have fallen over her back wheel. She needs to change a wheel as well and get back into the race.
So we go back to the race. There's been a few attacks in the meantime, but it's still staying together. Mia Griffin is still out the front taking points. So that was her 8th point across the line. Mia Evans on the front.
Well, Evans comes around now, and they'll be getting 17 laps to go. And Evans really accelerating because they have brought back in Mia Griffin. So now the peloton can start chasing the points again. Williams will come back into the race, but it's Mia Evans that crosses the line. So Griffin on 8 points. Evans will now have 1. And riders scrambling to get bikes fixed and repaired and back into the race. Hopefully all of the bodies will be okay. Lily Williams, who was involved in that crash, has come back into the race, so that's good.
All right, so we have Switzerland, Alina Zeitz on the front. She'll be contended by Olivia Belasaita.
So update on points. Belasaita with the 1 point. Playmakers also from the Netherlands with 1 point. Evans with the 1 point. And Mia Griffin leading the way. Another point gain there for Evans. She's the World Points Race champion. The final event in the Omnium is the points race. If she keeps herself close enough within contention, she could really take control of that final discipline.
And here comes Clara Caponi. So she's gone hard over the top. She's got a bit of a gap. I reckon she's going to continue on with this. She's just got 1 point now. Oh, she has got a big gap. Silvia Zanardi from Italy just swung up the track. So great move by Clara Caponi. If she can go and get another point, this will be great for her. Anita von Stenberg has actually noticed the issue here. So she's from Norway. If she can get across to Clara and work together, then they might get a lap on the field.
So 2 riders off the front. Caponi picks up 2 points, and Stenberg now bridging the gap out there to the French rider from Caponi. Bridges it, goes up beside it, and around the outside. So 1 point now to Stenberg. That's her first point, one of the pre-race favourites.
And Ali Wollaston is coming across, so she wants to be part of this. This is a very strong group of riders. If they can get together and work hard, take their turns. Sometimes it can work together, sometimes it doesn't quite work, because everybody is hungry for these points, but they need to work hard. Oh, that was close. I think Ali's sitting on Anita's wheel. So this is it. Who wants to go for these points? Ali's going to contend, try and take that point, but then they're going to have to try and create some sort of routine to stay away.
Wollaston it is that picks up the 1 point as they come through with 9 laps to go. The peloton seemingly out of it at this point. They'll come around to get 8 laps to go, the 4 riders in front. Peloton just coming past the finish line now.
So Lee White-Sing from Hong Kong is on the front here, so she will finally get a point. Because that's the thing for you. Sometimes if you do all of this work and you get sprinted against each time, and the group comes back, then you can end up with 0. So looks like they're going to get this lap though. 20 points once they make contact. There's a sprint for this final point before they make contact though. It's very important once you come down to the line. If you're on equal points, whoever has the highest number or whoever is first across that line at the end there, it completely changes. So vital points.
The final sprint, it's like a scratch race finish. They are desperate, especially when they're tight. You see so many riders on no points at all, several on 1 point. So where you cross the finish line at the end, that will give you your final standings if you haven't scored any points thus far. But with the lap gained, those 4 riders will get an extra 20 points added to their tally. So that will guarantee that those 4 are going to finish in the top 4 and maximise their points advantage.
So Ali Wollaston is just off the back there, so I'm not sure if they're giving her the points or if they're giving Velasco from Mexico the points. So just depends how close of whether you've been considered the lap. So Wollaston has been given the lap, so she'll jump on the back. But that's unfortunate timing for Mexico as Velasco Fuentes rejoins the peloton. So she went out the front and didn't manage to get any points because Wollaston was still off the back. So Nia Evans taking on Lily Williams from USA for these next points. These 2 are very strong, so if they can get away, that'll be great news. I think Lily needs to get some points desperately. Amelie Bederksen, she's noticed the risk. She's straight on that wheel too.
2 laps to go. And while Caponi leads the way on 24 points, that's an unbeatable advantage now for Caponi. So she will win the tempo race.
1 lap to go.
And on the final lap, there's another point. The Dane picks up that 1 point, the former world road champion to Dirksen. And she should be able to have enough here to hold on for the final sprint as well. And it'll be a mad dash between everybody else that's on equal points to try and get in front to maximise their position across the line. So Emily comes through to pick up the final 1 point, and
Malaysia in second. Oh, no,
so Caponi will be the winner. So Clara Caponi, as a part of that quartet that took a lap on the field, there she is. Fantastic ride by her. So maximising the points, getting 40 for the end of the tempo race for her to add to her overall classification position. Good riding by her.
There's so many new skin suits because they don't have to be from your country. You can actually nominate a mixed team and a trade team, so then you can have more starters at the World Cup. So it's quite tricky to try and commentate with the new skin suits out there, so apologies.
Amelie de Diaxon picking up the last 2 points on the last 2 laps. Bit of a gap gain there as well. So that puts her up there. Caponi it is, though, that takes out the tempo race. Ziwing Lee, Anita von Stenberg and Ali Wollaston doing a great job to take a lap on the field to put themselves in the top 4. Mia Griffin with the early attack, though. She finished on 8 points. She was out there for 8 laps. Well, actually about 13 laps because of the attack she did before the points were actually allocated. So she finishes in 5th place, and Nia Evans in 6th. I'll just do another update on our... There it is. So Wollaston, Stenberg, Caponi and Evans after the tempo race. So that's the overall standings going into the elimination coming up next. So Wollaston, who has 2 gold medals already from the first day, in a great position now, holding down gold spot for now with 2 more races to come.
Yeah, that's very good. This tempo race is really hard to predict, so I think she's she's doing really well. It's very tricky little one there. So there's Silvia Zanardi from Italy. So she was 3rd in the Madison last night in the final sprint. So yes, 2 more races to go. We have the elimination next for these ladies in a bit. So they'll jump on the rollers, warm down, eat some food, try and get some fuel in before the next race. So the elimination is last person out every lap. And then the final event is the points race later on. So anything can happen, anyone's game, the points race. Lots of laps. If you take a lap, you can get 20 points, so you can jump up the rankings very quickly. So yeah, still all to play for in the women's Omnium.
Well, and the elimination itself is so risky for some riders. Some of the riders we've seen so often in the past that are right up there in contention in the overall standings, but they make a mistake and they get eliminated early and don't get enough points throughout the elimination and find themselves going into the points race with a big points advantage to try and have to overcome.
2023 Tissot UCI Track Nations from Jakarta, men's Madison final.
Some bits and pieces left on the track from the earlier crash. Velasco from Mexico was the slowest of the riders to get back up and into the race. Seemed to be the more injured of them all.
Here's a pretty shot of the Jakarta International Velodrome from above. So a hustling, busy city. We flew into the airport and it took us about 2 hours to get out this way. So very big city, and we're still in Jakarta East. So Here's the men's Madison final start list. We have a big lineup: Italy, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Japan, New Zealand and Portugal. Unfortunately, Team GB crashed out of their qualifying, so we're waiting to hear back about how Ollie Wood is doing, so that's a big shame for them. They would have been big contenders out here today.
Yeah, in that qualifying round when Ollie crashed, he got up pretty quickly, but you could just see the awkwardness in his stance. He was in a lot of pain and then eventually just sat back down again. So his initial response was, I've crashed, I've got to get back into this race as quick as I can, and then realised after he stood up that something wasn't quite right. He was in an enormous amount of pain. So best wishes to Oliver Wood. The Austrians getting themselves out onto the track, and it's Max Schmidbauer and Tim Waffler.
Van Schip.
Tallest man in the Madison is Van Schip. You'll see him once he gets out there, really does stand out up above the peloton.
28-year-old from Holland.
Riding with an incredibly experienced Madison rider in Yuri Harvick, the world points race champion, but Harvick is one of the top contenders in the European Winter 6-day series over the years. He's won many of those Madison-based races. So he's a very experienced rider. There he is, Yuri Harvick. Yep. So he's the world points race champ. He's great on his own, but he's exceptional in an event like this. Great tactician.
Both Yuri and Willem were the European champions in 2021. So they're used to riding together. Last minute adjustments to the saddle for Spain.
Benassar and Mortarel. And the New Zealand team, they'll certainly be contenders here. Aaron Gate, and we just saw on camera with Campbell Stewart. So they are a great combination.
Silver in the team pursuit already this week. Campbell was also silver in the Omnium. So yes, they're also quite used to riding together. 9th at the World Champs this year, but I have a feeling there's going to be more to come from them.
Really nervous at the start of the Madison because they know how important the opening few laps are. It's so easy to get caught behind bad changes. And
yeah, so for our viewers that aren't sure what a Madison is, Olympic champion Scott McGrory, for those that don't know, can you tell us what is the Madison?
Well, the Madison itself, the name comes from where it was first conducted, which was at Madison Square Garden in New York City. First time they ever put the two-man team race together. And then from then on, it was just known as the Madison. Everyone used to go to the Garden to watch the Madison, and it has stuck. Two-man team, one rider is in the race at one particular time, while the other rider rides slowly around the track, and then they'll drop down from the top of the track, put their hand out, and they'll do a hand sling to do the changeover. Like a relay in athletics, but without the baton, because that could get stuck in the front wheel if you had a baton in a bike race. And that's how they do their changeover. It's roughly 2.5 laps or so that they'll spend in the race at each time. Every 10 laps, they'll have a sprint for points, 5, 3, 2, and 1. Double points for the final sprint, 10, 6, 4, and 2. Take a lap on the field, 20 points get added to the tally. It is fast, it is furious, and sometimes it looks incredibly hectic, and it's my favourite race.
There you go. I like that explanation. Thank you, Scott. But yes, it can get very hectic, so once again, we're going to try our best to keep on top of it for you all. There'll be one rider in the race at all times, one rider out. That's why you've got a group here on the front straight and a group on the back. Once the gun goes, the riders will go past those on the back straight, and then they will slowly fan out and work out where they want to come into the race. So some teams like to change early before a sprint. Some teams like to change later and go for laps. So lots of different tactics out there.
We did just see a glimpse of one of the riders from the Indonesian team. So Kasuma and Van Aert from Indonesia in the race. So that's fantastic. We'll hear a big roar from the crowd whenever the Indonesians are doing something in this race. And let's hope, fingers crossed, that and wish them the best luck, that they can get themselves a good result. The Omnium champion from yesterday, Tobias Hansen from Denmark. And gee, Denmark has a rich history in this race. He'll be riding with Robin Skivelt.
Yep, Denmark won the Olympic Games, not with this two. These two are quite young, 20 and 21. So they'll be very inspired by the Olympic gold medal ride. There's the teammate.
So the partner, as the race gets underway with one rider in the peloton, their partners now, with the gun fired, are allowed to come off the fence in the back straight, some choosing to come off straight away, others choosing to stay there and let them come past the first time. It does get hectic, the first change. If everybody starts at the same time in the back straight, it's a real scramble to find your partner and do the initial hand change. So I'm pleased to see so many of the teams splitting it, coming in at different times. First change on the front of the peloton, that's Austria.
One team we haven't spoken about are the Germans.
Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt, 2 times world champion. We saw Kluge in the Omnium, and he didn't look as good as we would have been expecting. But in the Madison, it's a different scenario. And both those riders, they've had so many victories before, great experience. So look out for the Germans. They're sitting just coming to camera there. Roger Kluge is the taller of the 2 of the men in the German colours.
And in the bright blue, second wheel, we have the Italian team of Michele Scartazzini and Francesco Lamon. So they were 4th in the World Championships, or the recent World Champs last year. So they know what they're doing, so keep an eye on them as we see Hashimoto from Japan go over the top of the peloton. So
Team Bridgestone.
here they go in for a change. So you'll see Hashimoto reach out, grab his partner's hand and slingshot him in.
Naoki Kojima from the Bridgestone team now coming into the action. We talk about the Italians. Francesco Lamon, he's an Olympic champion in the team pursuit, one of the greatest team pursuit competitions I've ever witnessed, let alone commentated. Incredible to see how fast the Italians went to get the win over Denmark. Australia getting the bronze, and New Zealand it was getting 4th, but so much happened throughout that competition. It's the kind of stuff we can expect to see in Paris 2024. 193 laps to go, the first of the intermediate sprints, not too far away, and they really fire up for these sprints much earlier than you see in individual races. The 2-man relay type format of a Madison means they have to get into position really early on, and that's what they'll be doing now, fighting for position as they come around to get the bell for the first time. New Zealand going really early. That's what you have to do in the Madison. Aaron Gate down the back straight, absolutely trying to look for his partner, Campbell Stewart. And there's the change. Stewart comes in, looks over the shoulder, see who's coming. Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands trying to come up around the outside.
Wow,
big hand change from Harvick, off and skip, and he flies over the top of Campbell Stewart. 5 points will go to the Netherlands. Good way to start proceedings for them, just in front of New Zealand. Haven't eased off either. Yuri Harvick kept going.
As he swings up the track now, so they'll look around, they'll see, hey, how many gap? Have we got a bit of a gap? Do we want to continue on with this? Do we want to split it up a little bit? So Portugal comes underneath, Campbell straight on that wheel, and Japan is out in front as well. So there's a little group of 3 there, but I think still early stages. Everybody getting settled in after that first sprint.
And with the hand changes, when they happen at sprint speed, the peloton really does start to stretch. So if you keep the gas on a little bit after the sprints, you can put a lot of people in the peloton under extreme pressure, having to bridge those gaps. And you can see now, only after a couple of laps, 3 laps after the sprint, the back half of the peloton only now starting to actually bunch back up again.
That's it. When you do a change, you'll see that 2 riders come together, which means that if you're behind, it means you have to go around 2 people, not just 1. So if there are multiple changes, often the riders have to go all the way around at the top of the track to get around. So as you say, if you're out of position, you can move backwards very quickly. So it's always important to stay close to the front, stay in control and ahead of the game. Starting to ease off now. You can see it is bunching up. We have Denmark coming around the outside. They didn't like their position at the start, so they're moving up. 185 to go, 5 laps till the next sprint.
So they're all desperate trying to be on the front of the peloton, but not wanting to waste energy pushing the win. So as soon as they back off a little bit, with all the desperation that's in the field, riders from behind coming around the outside, and there's this washing machine effect of riders from the back knowing they have to get to the front, so they're fighting all the time. And that sort of changes a little bit as you get a bit further down into the race, and a really tricky situation for some of the teams getting messed up in some of the changes as well. 183 laps to go, so next sprint not too far away. This is the fastest by far, actually, of all of the bunch races because of the relay effect. And you can see now as they're starting to fight for position to get ready for the next sprint. Czech Republic it is that's going to go 3 wide around the outside, change from Denmark. Belgium on the wheel as well.
Yeah, Hestes and De Wilde from Belgium, they'll have grown up doing Madisons. Literally from as soon as they were born, they will be so prepared for this. So the combination of Hestes and De Wilde, they are in second wheel now, coming in for the sprint as the Germans come around the top. So Kluger taking on Belgium.
And Japan 3 wide as well, but Roger Kluger it is that gets to the final bend first, and he should have enough speed and momentum to come up with the 5 points. Belgium holding on for 3 points. They just did a change slightly too late, Belgium, to maximise the time advantage to get the sprint points there. Kluger using his experience to make sure they got the maximum 5 points on that sprint. That's 2 intermediate sprints down, 179 laps to go.
Yep, so Kluger's just slung in Reinhardt, his teammate, a 32-year-old. So they are a very strong combination. As I said before, 2-time world champion. They've been around for a while, partnered up many, many years, multiple world medalists. As Denmark swings up, Italy on the front now.
Scartazzini, Michela. And you can see the riders that are out of the race there, just going high on the track, trying to ride as slow as they possibly can so they don't leave their partners in the fast peloton for too long. And it's really important. The deeper you go into the race and the more efforts you have to make, you don't want to leave your partner in that fast-moving peloton for too long. It's just it burns them up. The Australians coming up around the outside. That's Blake Agnoletto going into second position.
Yep, they're a young team from Australia. Oliver Bledden partnered with Blake Agnoletto, so they'll be here to gain as much experience as they can. They had a great qualifying ride, learned a lot. These are the things even though it's a qualifying ride, you've got to make sure you get through that qualification. You can still learn so much from this. So great to see our young boys out here having a crack.
This is a race. When I spoke with both Ollie and Blake yesterday, and I had 15 things in my head I wanted to tell them. And then you think, no, you just can't. You give them maybe 2 or 3 because there's just so much to absorb and understand and learn. The only way to do it is to come out here and do these races. And every time you do a race, it's an enormous amount of information that you're able to calculate and take forward.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they've just been given 2 or 3 things. It's like stay in the top 5, be in good position, or do a change at this point before the sprint. Like, got to keep it simple. These races are more fatiguing, I'd say, mentally than they are physically. So always attentive, knowing where your partner is, knowing when to swing up, watching the wheels in front of you, not just in the race, but behind the race. It's just, yeah, it's a crazy, crazy event.
Czech Republic down the back straight. They'll come around to get the bell this time. The Australians made their change a lap ago, so they're not quite getting the timing right to maximise the chances of going for these points. Agnoletto now in second position, just needs to hold the wheel. Czech Republic going down the back straight. You can see how much they've strung out. Netherlands in third place. They've already won a sprint. Flick up the track from Agnoletto, and he will pick up 5 points on the front for the Czech Republic. Australia in second, and the Dutch, the Netherlands, in third place. So that's great considering they've already won a sprint. They will extend their overall lead here.
Yep, so this is where it can get exciting. So you want to sprint, but you also don't want to go too hard because someone might hit out from behind and start to take a lap. So you want to make sure you're in with that group. So here we have a group of 6, and a little bit of a gap back to Switzerland. So they'll be aiming to close that up, but it's looking pretty tame at the moment. No one's really making a move to go off the front.
But again, Nettie, we can see at the back of the peloton how the gaps are still there. All the teams that sprinted then have been resting for the last lap or lap and a half or so, while teams further back, they've done nothing wrong other than be too far back before the sprint. And the penalty they pay, they have to bridge all those gaps for the next couple of laps after each of those sprints. Huge amount of effort to do so, and over a long race like this, it does come back to bite you later on. Slow motion of the hand slings.
Yep, Kiwis and the Aussies at the same time. Campbell Flakemore moving in for Team New Zealand.
Poetry in motion.
That's it. There you go. Exchanging pace. So you have to lock in before you grab your partner's hand. Otherwise, you'll pull them off the bike. So both of these boys here are switching on. They know exactly what type of change they like to do. They do these time and time again in training. And there's different ways to do it as well. Some people push early. Some people are smooth on the way back. So it takes a lot of time and practice with your teammate and making sure you're well drilled before you come into a race, because that's the last thing you want to think about when you're out there.
Well, those slow motion hand change is so good to demonstrate the action of it, because most people think that you are actually reaching out and grabbing with your hand your opponent, your teammate, I should say, but it's not. You're reaching right around and they grab a hold of you. So it is definitely much more of a sling than a throw.
Is this a move from the Kiwis?
It's a big move from New Zealand, and 162 laps to go.
This is before the sprint, so that's Aaron Gain on the front. He has started to open up a gap, and it's growing. It's growing. So as he comes around in half a lap, he'll get the bell for the sprint. Campbell Floatball coming in now.
Campbell Stewart look over the shoulder, and he's got enough of a gap to make sure that he gets the 5 points here. They're not going to be able to close that down. There is a real race behind, but Stewart will pick up the 5 points. He can ease off a little bit here as well, save some energy. And Germany, Theo Reinhardt it was that came across for 3 points. Remember, they have already won a sprint, the Germans. So that's great for the overall standings for them. Germany versus the Netherlands, really fighting it out. And now with New Zealand in the mix, the strongest teams are starting to come to the front.
Yeah, it's quite interesting how fast that gap did close back down. I'm not sure if it was a test, but now it's all back together.
Good effort from Aaron Gate, though, to go early before the sprint. It's the first team to really hit out several laps before the sprint to get an advantage. Big effort from him. For Campbell Stewart, he had enough of a gap that he could ease off a little bit and save energy. You don't want to waste energy going for those sprints. But then you don't want to hold back either. They'll get 156 laps to go. Germany leading the way on 9 points. New Zealand putting themselves up there in second place on 8. The Netherlands only 1 point behind them. Belgium, Czech Republic right up there as well with a couple of sprint wins by those teams as well. Denmark down a bit further with only the 1 point, and it's Belgium now, which we know how good they are in Madison racing. They've grown up doing this type of racing. But they've got to get the timing right, and they have to have the speed and ability to make sure they get these points.
How's Lindsay de Wilde from Belgium's just swinging up. He won the scratch race in Omnium yesterday. I think he finished about 4th. Married last week. Oh, I love this fact. I think it's funny. He was on his honeymoon at a bike race.
Won the Omnium scratch race, put that to his palmares, and got married as well.
Yep.
Well, he was leading the Omnium competition going into the final event, the points race, and unfortunately faded off the podium. I did chat to the mechanic, Ken Illigams from Belgium today, and he said he was really surprised by that. They weren't expecting him to fade. I asked the question, is he more of a sprinter type? And he is fast, but they were expecting him to go a little bit deeper into that points race, so they were a bit surprised by that. Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands coming up around the outside. Germany, so two of the teams that are really fighting for the overall win here. They'll get the bell the next time around. So Harvick has gone really early for this sprint. He'll be searching for Van Skip. He's about to come into view right now. And there's the change with 1 lap to go. So Germany and the Netherlands both changing at exactly the same time. Van Skip versus Reinhardt as they go down the back straight. And the big Dutchman really putting the power through the pedals. Reinhardt doing everything he can to try and get over the top. If you're going to put in a big effort, it might as well be for the win. But that's what Van Skip comes away with. 5 points for the Netherlands. Germany with 3.
That's Kojima from Japan. So they're doing really well out here. He partners up with Aya Hashimoto.
There's the change made by the Japanese team. They are the Asian Madison champions. And you can see that's the jersey they're wearing.
Different Japanese team, whoops.
And Germany now coming through on the front. And again, after the next sprint, I don't want to keep harping on it, but you can just see from the peloton how the gaps continue to open up. And for the teams that are thinking about maybe taking a lap later in the race and wanting to sit on, if you sit back too far, you end up wasting too much energy bridging all these gaps, and then you're unable to have the energy to go for the lap gain towards the end of the race. Bit of a move there from Denmark, putting the pressure onto the peloton. It was to no avail.
And so we're 146 laps to go. So we've already seen so much, but that means we're only a quarter of the way. So it's a massive, massive event, this Madison. So you can see the standings, Netherlands and the Germans both on equal points in 12. But yes, still a long way to go and anything can happen. So yeah, whilst you might have survived this far, it's still only a quarter of the way into this epic event. Here's another look at the Madison slings.
There it is.
Our Australian boys.
That's Ollie Bledden doing the sling to Blake Agnoletto. Nice calm expressions on their face as well. New Zealand doing likewise with Aaron Gate throwing in Campbell Stewart.
Want to know something funny?
Absolutely, always.
We did a body scan, and we looked at the amount of muscle we had on our bodies before we did this big training block. And then the next time I did the scan, I'd put on about 3 kilos in my upper body, and I was trying to work out what I'd done differently, and I'd done specific Madison training for that last month.
Yep.
So it just shows that bracing, the holding your teammates' hands, slinging in, it can make such a difference to your body composition. So yeah, it's not just about your legs when you're riding a bike during the Madison.
Well, at the end of every European winter 6-day season when I raced, I'd spend the next couple of months just trying to thin back down again, because I would put on exactly about that 3 kilograms of muscle in my upper body. Big guns at the end of the European winter.
That's it.
New Zealand again in the mix here, coming around to pick up the next 5 points. Australia sitting in third, Australia second, Portugal third, and Germany across the line with the 1 point. So New Zealand, they will put themselves up into the overall lead, I think, with that sprint win.
Gap starting to form.
Equal points now. Germany and New Zealand on 13. Netherlands just 1 point behind Australia, starting to move up a little bit with some good action from them.
Gap starting to form, but the Belgians have noticed the risk, and they've closed that gap pretty quickly. The Germans look like they're on the move. Roger Kluge going off the front. Indonesian crowd enjoying the racing, trying to work out what's going on.
It would be a bit confusing for them. They wouldn't have seen Madison racing too much, but they're just excited to see an Indonesian team on the track. Let's hope that we get to see them do something a little bit later on. They have been caught down towards the back, so struggling a little bit, Indonesia, to keep up with these well-credentialed and highly experienced European, in particular, Madison riders. The New Zealanders also doing well. Aussies up there not too far behind. Portugal making a change at the bottom of the track, and they are followed now by Australia. And if they look over their shoulders, they will see that the peloton has eased off a little bit. They haven't. They didn't look and see that they had opened up a gap. Portugal now has a look back. You can see also the Australians. Ollie Bledden coming in, and New Zealand sensed the danger, quickly closed that down. Moment of opportunity missed there by both Portugal and Australia. Not their fault, they just didn't realise that the peloton had swung up behind them.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is where it's like awareness, looking over the shoulder, always being attentive. But it's so challenging, and this is what I mean when I say that the mind has to work so much harder than the body often. You think it's physically demanding, but it's also mentally demanding.
And the deeper you go into these races as well, the more fatigued you become, the more lazy you think as well. So you really have to pay attention, especially as you get into the second half of the race. 132 laps to go. Another sprint coming up the next time around. It's Roger Kluge from Germany that's on the front. Team Bridgestone in second position. Then it's the New Zealanders. Haven't seen too much of the Netherlands. They were very prominent early on. They're out of contention for this sprint. And Reinhardt it is that goes down the back straight. Bridgestone, a Japanese trade team, in second position. Then it's New Zealand, Aaron Gate it is. But Teo Reinhardt is going to pick up the 5 points ahead of Bridgestone, New Zealand. And New Zealand's going to go on with this. So Aaron Gate, super strong Kiwi. Just put a little bit more hurt onto the peloton. And that acceleration has completely split the peloton in half. Although now they have swung up the track. That'll let everybody else to come back on.
Yep, the Germans were straight onto it, so they didn't want that to get away. Everybody's very attentive still. No one wanting anyone to leave the island.
Well, the top 5 teams in the overall standings were all in that split, so no real advantage to push on with that one that time.
Starting to group back together. Belgium on the front. Yuri Havoc, third in the elimination on night 1 here. He's on some form.
Point race world champ last year, current defending. So showing some real strength. And we talk about racecraft, Yuri Havoc with his experience. He's one of the best Madison riders technically in this field. Reinhardt for Germany swings up. New Zealand also up the track. The Japanese team likewise. Portugal now trying to move through. 125 laps to go. So this is when they sprint every 10 laps. 5 laps to the next sprint or 4 laps to the next bell. That's when they start to have to think about where they're going to be and where their partners are and put themselves in a good position for that sprints to come. Denmark down in 10th place overall. Only 2 points for them.
Italy's making a move around the outside. Here we go.
Big attack by the Italians, Lamont and Scartazzini. This is Scartazzini, the taller of the two riders.
Wow, he's opened up a big gap, but Roger Kluger is on the move. They're coming in for their change. Big sling with 2 laps to go till the sprint.
Lamont it is that comes onto the front, the Olympic team pursuit champion, and the gap is about to be closed down by Roger Kluger from Germany. Portugal are there, New Zealand also, and the Japanese team.
The Japanese national team.
Sound of the bell. There's been a big effort from Lamont, but the Germans did a change right behind them. So that gives Theo Reinhardt the slingshot opportunity to come up around the outside of Lamont and pick up the 5 points. Portugal will get 3. Italy do hold on for 2 points. It was a big effort from the Italians to just get the 2 points, but at least they're on the board.
Oh, we've got a fall here. Canada. Look, he's up and moving.
So just there as they come into the straight, one of the Canadian riders. Michael Foley. He looks hurt as well. So hopefully he can get himself back into the race. And unlike, you can see second from the back there is his teammate, Matthias Gillimet. And there are no laps out when one of your riders crashes in the Madison. Your partner must go into the race. If they're already in it, they have to stay in there until your partner comes back in. And you can imagine with the average speed as it is now, it's so hard to stay in the race on your own without doing these hand changes.
He's up, he's moving around. Got to make sure if he's okay, then he's going to jump back out. But, yep, Vi's going back on. He's going to go join his teammate. So,
well, if he is okay, he needs to hurry up and get back into this bike race because Gillimet, his teammate, will be hurting being out there on his own while everybody else is doing hand changes, getting some recovery. He's out there on his own.
Yeah, fresh legs coming in. It's hard to compete against, especially when you come into a sprint.
There he is, Matthias Gillimet, wondering where his partner has gone and hoping that he gets out there pretty quickly.
Yep, so he's got to be surfing the wheels, trying to be as efficient as possible, trying not to do too much, sitting in there, not sitting in the wind.
Well, the one benefit now for Matthias Gillimet is that the peloton has slowed off a little bit. So the pace is backed off, so he won't be under too much pressure to stay out there for now. 113 laps to go when they come around to the finish line this time. Again, Germany right up at the pointy end. So they're riding so intelligently, the Germans.
So a bit of a move from Imamura from Japan around the outside. He's riding for the Japanese national team, about to do a sling with Kuboki. So these are a pair that we haven't actually spoken much about. They were 7th at the World Championships this year. 5 times Asian national champs. So they're a really good pairing, and they've really stepped it up in the recent years in the Madison. So good to see them up in the mix.
As the peloton comes around, they'll get 111 laps to go. The next bell has been rung. And I can tell you the Canadian rider that crashed, Foley, has got back onto the track. Hopefully there he is there in the top of the back straight. But it's New Zealand that's going to pick up the points in this one. Germany again are going to be in the mix. Belgium just picking up 3rd place there, 2 points for them. So another good sprint from the New Zealand team. And once again, Germany keeping themselves right up in contention. They're not winning all the sprints, but gee, they're very consistent.
As you say this, Reinhardt has gone off the front. He's gone into the aero position. He's going to, oh, no, he's had enough. He's looked over his shoulder. He looked like he was going to go for it. They're all swung up, but this looks like Aaron Gate is going for it too now. So he's gone to the front as they've all swung down. So everybody's interested, but nobody's getting much of a gap.
High on the track around the bend for the entire peloton there. Another change. Roger Kluger coming in. Theo Reinhardt. What a combination. It shows the experience as well and how important it is. If you can make fewer mistakes, you really have a big opportunity in a race as complicated and as technical as the Madison.
So that's the Bridgestone national team. So the other two Japanese riders. So there's, yeah, two solid teams from Japan here. So really nice opportunity to put a trade team in and make the most of this experience, having this race so close to home.
Just coming to the top of the shot there is the Canadians. They made their change really late after Foley came back onto the track. He just took way too long. Whether it was the mechanic's fault or whatever it was, they just left him off the track for too long and put too much pressure on Gilles. And they're just about to get onto the back of the peloton, so they didn't lose a lap there. Hopefully they'll have time to recover, Gilles in particular, and they can play a part of this race as we're getting to the halfway point. 104 laps to go as the Dutch come through on the front.
Yep, Germany on 26, New Zealand on 20, the Netherlands on 12, and Belgium on 7. So a bit of a sprint fest so far.
Yeah, no real big attacks to try and gain a lap, but definitely some tired legs out there already, and there are still so many laps to go, 103.
We're almost at the halfway point. We're not even there yet.
Well, another change for Foley. You can see the Canadian just being pushed off as the peloton goes past him. So another little bit of an issue for Michael Foley as he comes now back up onto the tracks. The Canadians still having a little bit of bother. And a big move, big push from Aaron Gate from New Zealand. He hasn't got away from the peloton, but he's certainly stretched them out because it's the bell this time. This will signify the halfway point. 101 laps to go. New Zealand on the front, Belgium in second position. And look at Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands. We saw him do this in the very first sprint. He's matched that kind of speed, popped up around the outside, and he'll be 5 points at the halfway point for the Dutch.
That's it. When you're going to go for a sprint, like I said before, you've got to make it worthwhile. So he's saw the moment. He had a good hand sling, a lot of speed, ran at the wheel, popped over the top and took the 5 points. But here we see Portugal going on the moves. They've got a bit of a gap. They watched, they saw that Yuri did go quite deep. Here comes Willem van Schip. He's got to close this gap down. Italy straight on the wheel.
Well, with the Portuguese team attacking, Yuri Harvick was the first to react. Wasn't directly onto the wheel, but it is the job of the rider that does the sprint to pay attention immediately after that sprint for the counter-attacks, like we saw from Portugal then. Harvick was quick to react, and you can see how much pressure that attack from Portugal has put over everyone within the peloton.
That's it. Even though you've gone deep and you're feeling a bit like you want to recover, you've got to react quickly, otherwise that gap opens up too quickly, and that would be a lot more work for Willem van Schip to do. So that's it, being attentive, reacting quickly, it just minimises everything. It's better off being there and then reassessing than sitting there and thinking about it and having to close a gap that's too big.
Well, over the halfway point now, and it's only a 3-point race between Germany and New Zealand. The Netherlands, with that 5-point gain in the previous sprint, up to 17 points. Belgium off the front now, and they sit in 4th place on 9. Then a trio down on 7, including the Australians.
So Imamura from the Japanese national team heading off the front with Belgium. So that's Hesters, known for the 6-day Madison.
Jules Hesters, yeah, the Belgian in second position. Quick look over the shoulder to see where everybody is. And two teams working hard there at the top of the screen, though. That's Theo Reinhardt from Germany, sensing the danger. And the attack from Reinhardt from the peloton has gapped everyone else. So there's a real mad scramble behind these two teams that are out in front. They will probably get caught fairly quickly now from the Germans. And another hand change out in front. They're working well together, these two. And there's Roger Kluge, now changed from Reinhardt for Germany, about to come up onto the back wheel. There'll be 5 teams out in front, including the black colours with the silver fern. That's the New Zealanders. So first and second in the overall classification are now out in front here, along with the Italians as well. Sprint lap as they come down the back straight. And Kluge straight up around the outside. It's going to be a fight for Germany and New Zealand here right down to the line. And New Zealand's going to get there. The Germans, Reinhardt came in to change right on the finish line. Kluge backed off a little bit. That allowed New Zealand to come over the top and gain the 5 points. There was a little bit of a mistake there from Germany.
Yeah, so next time you'd expect them to go a little bit faster and do that change just after finished, because you generally want to do it before the finish line, but in that situation, that's where your teammate Reinhardt, you'd want to go push a little bit further forward, get those crucial points. Given that there's 1 point in it at the moment, those points do make a difference.
And what you don't see when we focus on the peloton is the rider that's out of the race waiting to come in. If they're intelligent enough, they'll speed up or slow down to try and ensure they come in at the right time. So Teo Reinhardt, while they are leading this race, he should have sped up just that little bit more then, because tactically he should have worked out the Canadians would have popped over the top in that sprint, as they did. So there has been a bit of a regrouping of sorts. This is the back of the peloton. The Australians are caught out, the youngsters. They're back there with the Indonesian team. And it's a one-point race now. 86 laps to go. Germany and New Zealand. The Netherlands, bit of a gap back to them now, 17 points. The danger as we get this deep into the race is if any of the teams have the strength and just attack at the right time to try and take a lap on the field.
Yep, this is where it'll be a lot more likely to take a lap. When people are fatigued, they get out of position, they relax. Like, this is the type of moment when it's easy just to relax. You slowly fade back, so you've got to be switched on, ready for anything, because it's these crucial moments that the game can completely change. And
the pressure when there an attack does come, a lot of the teams then look to the teams like Germany or New Zealand who have been dominating so far to say, well, hey, you guys are in the gold and silver medal position at the moment. You're obliged to chase this. If you want to win the race, you try and bring it down, but bring it back.
Yep, so Germany on 29, New Zealand 28, Netherlands on 17. It's some pretty close racing so far.
Well, it's the first time for a while that the peloton has backed off a little bit. The average speed has dropped. It's allowed everybody just to take a big, deep breath, try and get their heart rates down. And now they'll start getting ready for the next sprint. As you can see, they're starting to string out again as Aaron Gates on the front with 82 laps to go, looking for Campbell Stewart. He's waiting in the next bend, and they'll get the bell next time for another intermediate sprint. New Zealand and Germany first and second in the overall classification here, and they'll come to the sprint with Germany now going to the final lap. Well, this particular lap, I should say, in front. Roger Kluge down the back straight. Campbell Stewart in the slipstream. Can Stewart get up to the back and around Roger Kluge? No, he cannot. So powerful sprint there from Kluge to pick up 5 points.
That's it. If Campbell thought that he could get the 5, he would have popped over the top and gone for it, but he thought it was going to be too hard to sprint for, so let's just sit in the wheels, recover, and get those 3 points. Sometimes it's a bit of a tactical decision not to go too deep.
So the Netherlands not scoring any points, and now on attack. This is what we're talking about.
New Zealand missed the change. New Zealand missed the change. They got split by the Belgians. I have to see a replay to see whose fault that was, but that is bad timing.
So a bit of a challenge for New Zealand with that issue.
So that means a double. So they're lucky they've swung up. Pace has eased. Well, I wonder if we'll go back to a replay there, because that was interesting. That's rare to see. But this is when the mistakes start to happen. We're already halfway into this race. Everyone's going deep. You've got to stay switched on.
77 laps to go. The attack from Japan was short-lived.
Here we go.
And you can see there New Zealand going through the Belgians, and it's Campbell Stewart with the red number, and he does reach back to get to Aaron Gates. So they made the change, but
did.
Really sloppy, and the Japanese weren't able to take advantage of that with their attack, unfortunately for them. That was messy.
That was messy.
But they all stayed upright, so happy about that. No crashes there.
That's it.
There were a couple of crashes in the qualification heats of the Madison earlier today. And that's where Ollie Wood from Great Britain crashed out. You've noticed that a strong country like Great Britain not represented here in the final. That is because they did crash out in the qualifying, unfortunately. Thus far, things are going okay, except for the Canadian crash we saw earlier. And a big move from the Dutch. I was just about to mention how the Netherlands team haven't been that visible in the last couple of sprints. Well, now they're up front. They're very visible, and the Germans have seen them. They're chasing them down.
Look at the speed of Yuri Havik. He is going for it. And we have Teo Reinhardt from Germany on the chase.
As soon as the Dutch went, you could see the Germans, that the gap has opened up because they did get them by surprise slightly, but as soon as they were able to react, Germany straight after them, and that has caused a lot of carnage behind. Everyone desperately sprinting now to try and catch up to these two very strong teams.
Yeah, these two are very strong. I would not be letting those two get away. They've got to close this gap and close it quickly.
On to the next sprint lap at 71 laps to go, and the win will go to the Netherlands as they go down the back straight. We can call this one nice and early because Germany haven't got up to the Dutch just yet. Change from Van Schip and Havik as they go across the line. There's 5 points for them. Germany will extend their overall lead, though, with getting 3 points. And where's New Zealand? They've been caught behind in the peloton, and the gap is starting to open up.
Yep, this is a big mistake from the Kiwi boys. They're going to have to do something quick, and it looks like Campbell is sensing this. He's All right, we're going back to...
They were just on the move there. Now, just as we switched to camera shots there, the New Zealanders have started chasing in front of the peloton. They have got together out in front, so now we've got two super strong teams working together against the entire field to try and gain a lap and get the 20 points that are on offer for doing so. New Zealand desperately scrambling at the front of the peloton to try and bring this back.
Yeah, so this is where it gets tricky. So you have two dominant teams out the front. They want to get away. They want to have this advantage. So they're going to work together. It's going to be smooth and it's going to be efficient. So they're going to make up their time quickly. Back in the peloton, you have too many people. So some people want to work, some people don't. So that creates hesitation. But it does look like we have a trio forming of the Italians, New Zealand, and Belgians. So this is good. This is good for the chase. If they can get together and work, they have a lot greater chance of coming back to the Netherlands and the German combination.
Two teams out in front trying to work together, just getting a little bit messed up as they come past a couple of lap teams then. Then three teams chasing. How well are they working together? Is the advantage still for the two in front or the three that are chasing? That's the question. Group of five now forming behind the Germans and the Dutch out in front. So you can see spruing out all over the track now, but these are the leaders in the race, the leaders on the track at the moment. Germany swing up and let the Netherlands through.
This is where we said the damage was going to be done. So 63 laps to go, and there are people everywhere. So once the Netherlands put in that big attack, the peloton has been torn to shreds. So we have the two Netherlands and the Germans out in front. There is a group of five that has gotten together now. So there's the Kiwis, Belgians, Danish, Italians. There is the Japanese Bridgestone team and the Japanese national team that's just about to get onto the back. So if they can get together and work hard.
And a bell lap now. Another lap for another points for the two teams out in front. And they've got messed up and caught up with a group of riders that have been caught. But this is Roger Kluger, Germany and the Netherlands. They'll come around to pick up another 5 points and 3. So 5 for the Germany, 3 points for the Netherlands. And they're not too far from seeing the back of the peloton, which is being led by New Zealand, but the advantage definitely with these two strong, powerful teams out in front for now.
That's it. So as the sprint happened, the Canadians unfortunately did come down, so they're okay. They're on the infield again. So it's all getting quite messy. But yes, our chase group did get mixed up amongst some other people, and so it hasn't been quite efficient, which means that it's the advantage to the Netherlands and the Germans. So they look like they've got about a third of a lap to go before they're going to make contact with the back of the main bunch.
Steep learning curve for the Canadian team here in the Track Nations Cup in Jakarta. Madison, it's very hectic. Really have to stay focused and concentrated. But Germany, 42 points now, leading New Zealand. The Netherlands starting to move up by being out in the front here and picking up points in all these intermediate sprints. And they're not too far from getting to the back of the peloton and gaining a lap.
Yep, so the ones that have missed out here are the New Zealanders. So they are in the main bunch, so they're going to have to try and get away on their own and try and get a lap to be in contention if these two teams make it onto the back of this group.
55 laps to go now for these riders as they go across the line. Juri Harvik leads Roger Kluger, the Netherlands and Germany. Canada just coming off the race and abandoning.
Yep, they had a good crack, those guys. They really did it tough, leaving one of their riders out there for so long. But yeah, enough is enough. Time to go back and make sure that everyone's okay.
Yep. So we can confirm, we can look down the inside, that the Canadians have withdrawn from the race after the second crash for them, unfortunately. And Germany and the Netherlands not desperately trying to get to the back of the peloton because they know that there are points to be gained in these next bunch of intermediate sprints. They'll get 20 points for taking a lap anyway, but it does appear that they are content as they come across the line here to not get to the back of the peloton just yet and try and gobble up the next intermediate sprint.
Yep, so as they come around at half a lap to go and they'll get the bell, they'll try and go for those sprints and then they will jump onto the back. So 5 points up for grabs, that's pretty significant when it comes down to the overall placings.
Well, up to this point, it was a pretty even contest between Germany and New Zealand, but the Germans are absolutely in control. Juri Harvik just pops up around the outside to pick up the 5 points. Doesn't matter too much to Roger Kluger. And that's the front of the peloton going down the back of the peloton going down the back straight. As they come across the finish line, there's the New Zealanders. They are the big losers from that lap gain because the German team and the Dutch team have just latched onto the back of the peloton, so they have been declared a lap gain, so they'll both get 20 points added to their tally. And the Netherlands will jump over the top of New Zealand and go into the silver medal spot. Germany, they have just opened up a massive points advantage. Another big attack coming, though. This is where the opportunity comes. A team we haven't seen too much of from Denmark, a little bit further down in the standings, taking their time now to try and get in a lap and pick up the 20 points.
Yep, that's a big move from the youngsters. So the combination of Hansen and Skivelt. So they are doing what the girls did yesterday. So Julie Lett and Amelie de Dirksen, they took a lap in earlier stages of the race and then they sprinted their way to gold. So these Danish, the Danish are very known for taking laps in Madison's. So very big move from the young boys. I love to see a young team taking on a race.
They only have 2 points to their tally at this point of the race, but if they can gain 20, they'll move up to 4th place overall. So they'll go from 10th to 4th if they can complete this circle and get a lap on the field. Just starting to ease a little bit now, about a third of a lap in front of the peloton. 44 laps to go. The next sprint's not too far away, so the average speed of the peloton, it will increase pretty soon. The Danes, if they want to gain their lap, they need to do it really quickly.
Yep, so the Germans and the Netherlands, they're not too fussed about this move. They're comfortable up there, but the ones that are going to miss out are between 3rd and 5th or so. They're the ones that are going to be leapt over if these Danish boys make this lap. So that's on them to start the chase. You can see the Netherlands are tucked in there. They're about 5th wheel back.
Lead is growing. The lead is definitely growing now. The Danes doing a good job, riding good tempo out in front, and it's more so the peloton slowing down rather than the Danes speeding up. But that's about to change because they'll come around for the bell. 5 points up for the next lap for Denmark. They can look across and see the back of the peloton. That's what they're trying to get to, but they know there's going to be an acceleration now back in the main field for the points that are still on offer. 3, 2 and 1 will go to the peloton, but the 5 points, they're out the front here with Denmark. He gets across the line. The scramble behind will be taken by Portugal, just over the top of New Zealand. Portuguese team doing really well. They was in 7th place, only on 7 points, but they picked up another couple there, so that's good for their tally.
Yep, so that was Tobias Hansen has just been slung in.
And you can see how much the gap came down just from the acceleration from the peloton in that sprint.
Yep, then now it went from being a half a lap to about a straight. So this will be good motivation for the Kiwis who are chasing them down. As they swing up. Jesper,
Tobias Hansen is in the race for Denmark right now. And you can see there's a real acceleration from Hansen. I think Skiveld is his teammate. And I think it's Hansen that seems to really be able to... This is Skiveld that's come in now. And we get a good indication from the body language and the pedal speed as to whether he continues to open up the gap or not. Because Hansen looks really strong when he's in the race.
Yeah, Skiveld looks like he's suffering, but they are gaining space again. It's back out to half a lap. So Roger Kluge, he's gone off the front again.
Oh, he's down the back straight. Kluge just about to come up to the Indonesian team and take a lap out of them. So around the outside, New Zealand scrambling to chase after Germany, but the points that they're down now, 65, 50 and 36, the top 3 teams. Another change from the Danes. Skiveld comes in, or Hansen I should say, Tobias Hansen, the Omnium winner from yesterday. And they are 33 and a half laps to go. So they'll come around this time for 33 laps. And the peloton does seem to have just settled down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a sense of calm again. Gets a bit hectic, but now they've all bunched back up. Some people have been lapped, some people are a lap ahead, but they're all back together as our Italians move to the front. So this is, what's the gap, about half a lap still? So they're still hanging out there. There's 2 laps to the next sprint, so this will be important points for the Danish pair, but they really need this lap. They'll jump from 7 points to 12 points, but when those big numbers up there, they're going to have to get this lap if they want to move into the bronze.
31 laps to go. Denmark will hold on for another 5 points, but there's an acceleration back on the main field, and it's that team, Germany. They are chasing down now, and you can see Skiveld really starting to struggle. They've been out for a long time, and the race to this point has been so hard, really tough to try and gain a lap on the field from teams a peloton that's been led by a team like Germany. So Germany come across the line for 3 points in second place.
Ooh, Japanese national team.
Really tight down the back straight through a few of the teams. And another change. Hansen comes in again. And they are only about 30 metres off the front of the lone Germans now. So Germany have gapped themselves from the rest of the field. And at this point, Nettie, you start to think they'll come around to get 28 laps to go. Germany have been so strong. They are in absolute control here. They've gone off the front, and you have to start to think that New Zealand, Belgium, Netherlands, are they all just starting to think about the silver and bronze medals now?
Well, what wasn't shown on the camera just then was that the Japanese national team from second wheel just almost missed their change. They swung straight up the track and meant everybody go up. So that's why there is a big gap now between the Germans and the rest of the field. The Germans have just made contact with the Danish and have gone straight around. But that big mistake from the Japanese has actually put the Dutch in a bad position because their opponents, the Germans, have just gone off the front. So you can see Yuri Havik going across now. He's got the Japanese national team on his wheel, so if they can work together and bridge across, then they might be up for another lap. So no, I think to answer your question, I don't think they're satisfied with silver and bronze. I think they're going for it.
There was a big desperate move from the Dutch then. New Zealand now also scrambling to try and get up to the men in orange. Still the two out in front, Germany and Denmark. Netherlands chasing them down, Bridgestone just behind them, and New Zealand in the black colours at the back of this group now. It's about to all come back together in the front.
It was a big move by the Danish team because they were overtaken, but they fought hard to get back on that wheel, so they're back in contention. So now they're still out in front. So there's a group of 4 now. The Kiwis are just joining, so there'll be a group of 5 soon. So that attack has been, what's the word? Soothed.
Neutralised, basically, yeah. The big favoured teams are all out together out in front. So who really wants to push it on? Who really needs to? Well,
Belgium.
I think Bridgestone does, really. Bridge out in front. It is Bridgestone that is really pushing forward.
And the
Kojima and Hashimoto.
Yep, and the Kiwis. Because Belgium have missed out. So Belgium are in 4th at the moment, and they have missed this break. So yes.
21 laps to go. Roger Kluger again for Germany on the front. Hashimoto sitting in second position for Team Bridgestone. The Danes just trying to hold on. The acceleration for this sprint is putting the breakaway group in a bit of trouble. So another 5 points go to Germany. I don't think they needed it, but they're just too good tonight. They are absolutely dominating this race. Change from Bridgestone just in behind them, and a scramble behind to just come back up to the Germans once again. Netherlands picking up 2 points for third place across the line.
So 19 laps to go. So it's starting to settle down. It's looking a little bit safer for the Kiwis now. So it was a bit risky out there when the Danish boys were half a lap up, but it's now come back. So there's a big gap to the Belgians. It's 20 points. So the Belgians are going to have to do something special to get across to this group and get off the front. So here we have pressure going down by Campbell-Stewart on the front of this smaller group.
And look at the back in the red and white colours. Denmark really having to grit the teeth to just stay out there in this front group. When they attacked, they were in 10th position on 2 points. They're now up into 5th. So this has been a great move for Denmark.
It certainly has. They're at 20 and 21 years of age. They're very, very young against some very experienced riders. So they didn't sit there and let the others do the work. They decided, you know what, we're going to take it on. We've missed the move earlier on, but now we're going to go for it. So they've gone for it, but they're starting to pay for it. And this is when they're going to have to, they'll make a lot of gains in their learning. So learning under pressure, making decisions when you're fatigued. It's so cool to see them having a crack.
2 sprints to come. It's 15 laps to go, and it does look like this group now out in front are going to take the lap on the field. There's still a little bit of track to close down, but I don't think there's enough strength left in the peloton to accelerate and keep this breakaway group at bay.
Nope, it looks like this is going to come back, which means that each team out of this group of 5 are going to get 20 points when they make contact, so 13 laps to go. I think it's very likely, but then the gaps are quite big, so it's looking like the Germans are on track for a goal. We've got Netherlands in the silver position and the Kiwis in 3rd.
They have to stay upright. That's the one thing that could bring them undone so far. The experience of the German team has been exceptional. And there's been a big acceleration from the peloton by Portugal. And then there's the Danish team down the back straight. They are the first of the breakaway group, just coming towards the back of the peloton. They're about to make a change, Denmark. It's 11 laps to go for them. It's another sprint point, and Skibble it is from Denmark that will lead into this sprint lap. Being chased down, though, by both New Zealand and the Netherlands, and this could get really tight between them as they get to the Danish rider. Yuri Harvik from the Netherlands will pick up the 5 points. Will he continue straight onto the back of the field? And that will be the determining factor in a lap being taken by that breakaway group.
Yep, so they have just made contact, which means that all of those 5 teams will get 20 points added to their tally, so their numbers are going to go up. We have Portugal now in the lead from the bunch, so they are about 2/3 of a lap up, and we have, here's Portugal, here's a shot of Portugal, so the Italians out of shot, they're in pursuit, and then there's a bit of a gap back to the Belgians, so they're not going down without a fight.
Portugal will come around to get 7 laps to go. There they go through the bottom of the screen, and they're almost around to the back of the peloton. So a late attack from Portugal, and I think they're about to get a lap gain if they continue at this speed. So they are the leaders on the track now that the breakaway group has gained a lap on the peloton. They all received another 20 points. That's what Portugal's hunting down right now. They sit in 8th place on 10 points. And they're not too far from getting to the back of the peloton. That's the chase group behind Portugal, Italy and Belgium. And just behind them is New Zealand. So this is a really important move by New Zealand very late in the race to try and pick up some points right at the very end.
It's a great move because if there's 5 laps to go, if the Belgians and the Italians take a lap, then it can get close again. So the best form of defence is attack. So we have the boys heading off. They've just taken a lap, but they've got a little... Oh, they've just missed a change. I'm not sure if you saw it at the top of the screen. That is going to cost them. They had so much momentum, but there's only 4 laps to go, and there's a big gap if they want to take this to get this lap.
3 to go for Portugal, the leaders on the track at the moment, sitting down in 8th place overall, but they are trying to still gain their lap on the field. That might be determined now because they've just got to a group at the top of the screen. They are coming around to get 3 laps to go. There's a mad scramble behind Italy, New Zealand, Belgium, Germany, and also the Netherlands. So getting really messy down here towards the end. 2 laps to go. And they have been given the lap up. So Portugal have gained a lap, and now the leaders of the race are Germany in this group that we're looking at here. Germany, the Netherlands, and Italy. Final sprint about to happen. Double points, 10 laps on offer. It's not going to matter to Germany. They have absolutely masterclassed this race. They will come away with the win. So fantastic performance for Germany, Netherlands, and New Zealand. Gold, silver and bronze was predetermined before they came into that final sprint. There was such a mad scramble. The entire race is blown to pieces. But the best on the day, Team Germany. Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt, that was a masterclass.
Wow. Wow. And sit back and relax. Gee, 200 laps. That was epic. Good work by the Germans. There was a bit of a mix-up just at the end, and the Netherlands and the Germans hit across to that smaller group, and the others just decided, you know what, we're done. We can't change the result with this final sprint, even though there were double points on the final. So this is the final standings. We have the Germans on 99 points, Netherlands 77, New Zealand on 61, and the young Danish team coming in a beautiful 4th place. I think they'll be happy with.
Now, I think with Portugal, because they did give the 6 points to Germany for the final sprint, so I think Portugal were not quite determined as a lap up. They didn't catch this group, obviously, but they did catch a fairly large group, but wasn't determined to be the peloton itself. So Portugal getting the last sprint and the double points, but not the lap gain. They'll finish in 6th place overall. But what a dominant performance it was from Germany. Seemed really tight, really close early on, and then as the race went on, the Germans just took more control and completely dominated.
That's it. So the first half of the race was relatively simple. It was just going after sprints, but then as people got more and more fatigued, then the laps started to come. So when they went for it, they just went like a freight train. There's no stopping this combination of Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt. So 2 times world champion in the past. They know what they're doing. They were 8th at the World Champs this year, though, so I think they're going to come back swinging in this season. So the World Championships are in August this year, and this will be major qualification points for the Olympic Games next year. So pats all round. Great work by all the teams. It was a pretty good racing out there.
Absolutely, and we saw the Netherlands coming away with the silver medal. That was Yuri Harvik and Jan-Willem van Schip. And New Zealand, Campbell Stewart and Aaron Gate with the bronze medal. Denmark. Courageous effort from the youngsters, gaining a lap on the field. They finished on 34 points in the end, Denmark, in 4th place. And this is
The final sprint.
coming around after the final sprint. Victory salute. Now, yesterday, in the Omnium, I was a little bit critical of Roger Kluger. He was fairly way down in the standings overall. And I thought I was questioning his form. Sorry, Rog. You're going okay.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing. I think, whether he made a couple of mistakes in the Omnium or whether he was going to put the eggs into this one, who knows. But whatever he did, it worked today. So great work by the German pairing.
Handshake from Theo Reinhardt to Campbell Stewart, and conceding that the best team won on the night. So that was a real battle between them, but it was the German team, the 2-time world champions, now winning here in Jakarta as well. What a fantastic and dominant performance it was from Theo Reinhardt and also Roger Kluger. Let's go down and talk to our champions.
Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Test. Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. Tell us how it feels like to win.
Yeah, very good feeling. It was not an easy week. We had sickness in the team, and it was a very hard week. So we are very proud that we can win that last race, and it's a big sign for us. So we are very happy.
It's been a phenomenal race for the both of you. Maybe tell us through about your strategy, the key moment for you guys in the race today.
The key moment coming first with this was when the Dutchies attacked, that we were immediately able to follow. Before we took here and then points, not really offensive from the beginning, but we tried to grab a few points, and if we could for big points, we went. So we were actually in a comfortable position, and then after we could follow the move, it was the winning key more or less, and there we had the race in our hand, and we could really control it, and even had something left in the end. So we're pretty happy to go home like this.
Congratulations and enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, that was fascinating to hear just how they went through the race and still had the legs to go with it at the end. So truly a dominant performance from Theo and Roger. 97 points in the end for them. The Netherlands, they had spurts throughout the race and in the end desperately need to go and get the lap as they did. New Zealand, they fought hard, just missed the move from Germany and Netherlands. That's what cost them a higher placing, but bronze medal at the Nations Cup, great performance from them. And you can see the field further down, the minus 20 points. So they were the individual teams that lost laps throughout the race. So 20 points to gain a lap, and it's 20 points to lose one as well. From the endurance event to the pure sprinters, the speedsters of the velodrome, and we're into the final round, the bronze medal race between Yu Zhu and Mikhail Yakovlev. We'll see Harry Levreisen up against Kaya Otter to race for the gold and silver medal. But for now, again, best of 3 competition between these riders here in the medal round. Yakovlev, the second fastest qualifier today. So he's been the second quickest man on the track behind Harry Levreisen, but out-tactically manoeuvred in his semi-final by Kaya Otter. Fair to say.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say Yakovlev was the one to beat, but he's young as well. He's relatively new to sprinting. He's popped up in the last few years, so yeah, a bit of a mistake from him, but still a medal to play for here. As you see, he's riding from the front. He's drawn number 1 for the first of the bronze medal ride-offs. Zhao is stalking from behind. Smaller rider moving up the track. Mikhail looking over his shoulder. They've both got some height here, so starting to wind up the pace. So this is the situation he was in the round before. So he's going to make sure he's not going to get caught napping. Zhao looks like he is building pace.
Lap and a half to go now. Yakovlev in control in front. You can see just the urgency of putting a little bit more pressure through the pedals and a big gap being given. Zhao has given way too much with 1 lap to go. He's the second fastest man in qualifying, Yakovlev. You don't allow a guy that fast to have so many metres advantage, because this is what happens. He's going to comfortably get himself the first win in the best of 3, and that was a tactical failure by Yu Zhao.
Yeah, I think Yakovlev, he had a bit of a gap. He didn't want the same situation to happen as before, so he took the initiative. He went down the track, had the speed, and Zhao was too far back to get a slipstream. So sometimes if you've got the height and you're from behind, you can actually slide into that slipstream and run at your opponent and pop out at the last second, but that was just too much of a gap, and they were both doing just as much effort trying to close that gap. So, yeah, congrats to Mikhail Yakovlev. He is into the final. Oh, no, he's not. He's got one more. So best of 3. So if he can win the next one, then he goes straight through. And if not, they go to 3.
So one hand on the bronze medal for Mikhail Yakovlev. On to the race for gold and silver. Harry Levrason is the world champion. We saw him in this situation yesterday. He was the Keirin world champion, came into the final and won. For Keirin, can he do the same and back it up as the sprint world champion now? He's 2 races away from it, but Kaya Otter is going to do everything he can to try and stop that from happening.
So Harry Levrason, he is 25 years of age. He is 10-time world champion and 2-time Olympic champion. He's only 2 years older than Kaya Otter, but Kaya has only recently switched to track cycling in the last couple of years. Come from a background of rowing, so much talent, so much potential, and yes, like I said before, 10th at his first World Championship, so he's new, but he's hungry.
In the early rounds, Otter really showed some good tactical ability as well, which is not normally what happens when you're a talent transfer athlete from a different sport. So he's really picked up the nuances of sprinting and the tactical nous needed really well. So hats off to him. He's in the final of a Nations Cup, which is proof that he's not just fast, he knows how to race.
Yeah, he was held up by Jason Niblett, so he was an Australian coach, and he actually was a sprinter himself, moved to Japan, and he's been coaching the Japanese team for a while. He's known as Jason Sensei. So he actually did warn us about this rider. He said that Kaya Otter is going to be impressive. So, yeah, I wonder if Jason has had a bit to do with these tactical, well, that's the speed at which he's learnt to ride tactically. So he's at the front now. Draw number 1. Levrason is in second position.
Slow speed to complete the first lap. 250 metres of the velodrome, pretty much the standard now for international competition like this. Fantastic track this. All of the riders have been talking about just how smooth it is. So Levrason in second position, just weaving up and down the track, and all he's trying to do is intimidate Otto a little bit to try and force him into going early and wasting energy. Levrason, you can see, not giving as much distance as we saw in the previous race from Zhao, so he's still in the slipstream. He's the fastest man on the planet, and he's coming up around the outside, and a bit of a touch of shoulders as they went into the final bend. They have to keep the pressure on. Oh, that was really close.
Wow.
Levrason gets there and wins the heat. But I think if he didn't, they would have relegated Otter.
Yes.
For sure. You're not allowed to come out of the red line. And it was the touch of shoulders and the balance, losing a bit of balance through that bend that forced Otter up.
Yep.
But Levrason was able to be fast enough, strong enough to come around and still get the win.
Yeah, I would say Kaya Otter did that perfectly. He did a brilliant job. Not sure who would have won if he'd stayed in his lane, but he did an absolutely perfect ride, I would have said, from the front. He closed the door. He didn't get intimidated. He wound it up as he wanted, but then, as you said, he came out of that lane. So once the sprint has started with 200 to go, you're not allowed to leave that red line. He has to stay in that lane. So he came well above that, and it is the skills of these two riders that they've managed to hold this up that can be so dangerous at those types of speeds. So you can see Harry Levrason was not happy afterwards. So yes, it didn't matter what the final result was from this moment on, because you're going to expect to see Kaya Otter relegated, unfortunately. But what a race.
Yeah, great race. Nice and close to the end. And look at the stare down. Look over the shoulder from the world champ. How dare you touch me?
Yeah, not happy about that. Not happy.
One up in the best of 3. They'll come back and do it again, and we'll see just how it prevails. Harry Levrason at the moment. One hand on the gold medal.
I'd say that's probably to do with a little bit of inexperience from Kaya Otter.
Oh, I liked it. It was a bit
Yeah.
of fun, exciting.
But tactically, he was amazing. That was brilliant. I loved it.
I don't believe that was on purpose.
No.
I think he
No.
may have moved up a little bit, desperately trying to stop him. But once they clipped, I think there was the loss of balance from Otto on the inside, which made it look much worse or more intentional than it really was. On to the elimination race now for the women's Omnium, the third discipline within the 4-discipline Omnium series. And Alex Manley at the top, former points race world champion. Unfortunately, she had a crash in the scratch race, so she's a long way down the overall standings.
Yep, she'll be pretty disappointed with that. Her tempo race also, she was a bit further back, wasn't able to get many points, so she's going to have to come out hard for this elimination. Lots to learn in the elim. You can always learn from these races, so she'll go hard in this, but I will not be surprised if she goes hard in the points race at the end. That is what she's known for. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing that. But for now, this is the standings after 2 out of 4 events. So Ali Wollaston, the youngster from New Zealand, on 78 points. Anita von Stenberg, she's from Norway, on 70. Also on 70 is Clara Caponi, so she's the winner of the tempo race. And so there's still a lot in it. The elimination, for those who aren't sure about what it is, it's, like I've said before, a bit of a party event. Last one out's the rotten egg. So last one across the line is out. The bell will ring every 2 laps, and it's on the riders to try and squeeze through gaps, try and make sure they're not last across the line, and the timing goes from the back of the back wheel. So your front, if it doesn't matter if you've got a really long bike, you just got to make sure that back wheel is in front of the person next to you. So there's lots of tactics involved. Some people like to ride from the back and pit people and weave through the gaps. So like Anita von Stenberg, who we're looking at now, she likes to be in amongst the action. Clara Caponi is similar, but then you might get maybe a pursuiter or someone who likes to ride in the wind. So riders like that would sit on the front, or they'd sit out, one up, which means that there's a gap for them to move and escape if they have to. So some riders like to be in the mix, some people like to be on the outside.
It's the one race in cycling that you focus on the rear of the peloton, not the front. And there's a rider that's strong enough to sit on the front all night. Amalie Duderksen from Denmark, the former world road champion, silver medalist in the Madison at the Olympic Games. And she's sitting in 5th place overall. And
she actually had an accident in training here at the track.
Oh, yeah?
Clipped by our Australian pursuit team. Ooh. So she came down, but luckily was all right. So for her to come out swinging and win the Madison last night, I think, it just shows she's bounced back up, dust her off, get a new skin suit, and she's up and running. So, yeah, she's one to watch.
So the riders at the back of the field here, desperately trying to come through. Wayne Pomario with the official starter's pistol. Race is now underway. And a real fight for position early on. No one really wanting to waste too much energy right on the front. And if they do slow down, that's when the riders from behind can then pop up over the top. So the first of our elimination races. Stenberg goes to the front for Norway, but it's the back of the peloton that we need to focus on. And it's the Mexican rider that's right down towards the back that's in the danger zone for now. And you can see how much they are bunched up at the front because it doesn't matter too much to them. It's the back where the elimination is going to happen, and it is Mexico. So Velasco is the first rider to be eliminated, getting the minimum points from this race. The downside of the elimination is if you want maximum points, 40 for the win, you've got to go all the way through the race and then back up for the points race immediately after. That's the disadvantage of being the winner in this.
That's it. And it gets harder and harder. So right now it's pretty fast paced, but as the riders get more and more fatigued, the pace will start to drop. So we are looking at the back here, remember. So that's Yingting Huang, who's gone around the outside, so she'll be safe. But it looks like the rider from Indonesia. So unfortunately, our local Priyatna has been eliminated.
And that's a shame for the local crowd. Great experience for her, though.
That's it. She's got to go. She's still got another race on tonight. So Yingting Huang from Chinese Taipei. So she was actually a sprinter back in the day. So she has crossed over to endurance. So she is moving on up, making sure she's not in trouble, but looking like she's not going to have enough time. Yeah, so I think she's will be eliminated this round.
That was fairly clear. Just above her now is Alex Manley. So every 2 laps is the elimination. Manley in the danger zone, needing to move up and go around the outside. And the others that are really in the danger zone, right down the very bottom, because there's nowhere to accelerate forward. And we can see that being the case right now. Right down the back there with the white helmet, you see bouncing up around the outside to get out of that danger zone. Look down to the Swiss on the inside. Perhaps they're in a dangerous position. And her sights maybe... Oh, no, she just pops over the top.
Looked like Anita von Stenberg again, or was it Switzerland? Ooh. I think it might have been Anita. Look, oh no.
It is.
Oh no, this is the second time she's done that this week.
One of the big favourites,
Yep.
Stenberg.
Too early for her to be eliminated. She needed to perform to... Yeah, this is going to make it hard for her in the points race.
As she came past our commentary position then, she was shaking her head, absolutely gutted with that situation. That is not going to do her many favours in the overall standings. Stu Derksen from Denmark up around the outside, the former world champion on the road. But Miss Arena, perhaps, from Uzbekistan, it is.
It is number 294.
Margarita Usarina, she's the tallest rider in the race and the next one to be eliminated.
Let's take a shot, look at the back, see if everybody's moving on up. Number 289 in the danger zone.
Bachikova from Slovakia.
She's,
Fighting up around the outside.
Yep, now it's the bottom. She's moved in fast enough, I reckon. I think she might be okay.
Raymakers is in trouble from the
Oh,
Netherlands.
it is Raymakers.
Marita Raymakers, she was high up in the overall standings as well.
Yeah, she's a youngster with a lot of potential.
She was sitting in 9th place. That's not going to be too handy for her in the overall.
She actually got 3rd in the elimination here this week, so she will not be happy with that.
Nia Evans just rolling around the front there, the points race world champion, making sure she's not in any danger. She's one of the big favourites to go for the overall victory here, doing everything she can to keep herself out of the elimination zone. Sights from Switzerland, tucks through underneath. She's risking it. She's been down there a few times now.
Ooh, it was close between Lithuania, Balasaita, and the Czech rider on the inside. So.
Sebčíková. Sebčíková is Petra is the next one to go from the Czech Republic, and this is the danger. We keep talking about it. We focus on whoever's at the back now, but it's the one that's right down on the inside that has nowhere to accelerate down the finishing straight.
I'd say Zayed Ahmed from Egypt is in a risky position because there's nowhere to go. Once these riders move up and around, there's not a lot of time to back out and go out. So, oh no, it's Ireland, Mia Griffin.
This is the one race where you want to get the minimum width of handlebars to try and squeeze through any kind of gap. 35 centimetres is the minimum width that the UCI have determined from this year going forward. The bars have been getting narrower and narrower, and that's what you need here to try and squeeze through any gaps to keep yourself in the race. Mia Griffin's handlebars perhaps just a little bit too wide, couldn't get through.
Clara Caponi on the front now with her fluoro helmet. So they're all nice and safe at the moment. So we look back towards the back. There's a bit of leaning.
Touch of elbows.
Oh, it's the German.
That was a real squeeze at the back, wasn't it?
It was.
Reisner was desperate to try and get up and around the outside, but Balasaita was just squeezing her a little bit. So good tactics there from Balasaita. Bachikova
She's
in a bit of trouble right at the very back here. So Elzbieta Bachikova.
Ooh, Ellie Wollaston.
Maybe Alice Wollaston's in a real dangerous situation.
Oh, she's the leader.
If Bachikova comes over the top, Wollaston
Ooh,
is
no, she's
just
safe.
there. Very lucky from her.
That was Zayed Ahmed from Egypt. I think Wollaston dodged a bullet. She better get out of that position right now and move around, otherwise she'll be in the same position again.
And the top left hand, you can see, this is Reisner from Germany trying to get through, pushing the elbows, holding her ground nice and strong. That was good racing. Ali Wollaston has moved out and got herself into a better position. Leader in the overall standings. There she is from New Zealand, coming up around the outside. Bachikova in trouble again, but no, gets through.
Look like Lee Wai-Zi.
The next one to go.
No decision.
Oh, Alex looks like she's struggling a little bit. She looks like she was grimacing from Australia, so I think that crash might have might be playing on her, but she's gone for the elimination mode. So as in she likes to ride from behind and pit people at the last second. So depends on what type of rider you are. If you want to go deep and then bounce back again, then it means you can sit on the wheel and have a bit of recovery in between rounds. Yep, so Li White-Zi we thought was out, but she's still in the race because there was no elimination before. So that means that we have Slovakia missing out here, Alzbeta Bachakova. Sometimes when the judges can't decipher who's out or not, they let you keep going. So if in doubt, keep on riding as if you're still in, because as soon as you sit up and lose position, then it means you'll probably be out in the next round anyway. So I think Li White-Zi has been lucky in this one.
But she's at the back this time. May not be as lucky. You can see now desperately trying to accelerate to come into the finishing straight, and she might have enough speed. She does indeed. So she does get to stay in the race.
285.
Kakita. So Kakita is the next one to go.
Yep, so she just, yeah.
Oh yeah, and you
There
can
you go.
see
Wow, that
was
was
super
close.
tight. A couple of millimetres within that one. Blurred lines for sure. Caponi up around the outside. Evans has been quiet as well, but she's now tucked in the middle there. She needs to be really careful. Li White-Zi again having to fight up around the outside. It costs a lot of energy to do so. She staves off another elimination, and it's Elaine Seitz from Switzerland on the inside.
She doesn't know she's out, I don't think. Now she does. All right.
Well, Ziwing Li really has been dicing with the devil here.
She has.
He's looking to do it again, and it'll be with Alex Manley. Nia Evans, third from the back, out of the saddle. Li White-Zi down the bottom in the red. Manley on the outside for Australia. Evans in front of her. And a little acceleration. And, oh, she's...
She's all right. It's Olivia Balasaita.
Wow. She enjoys tugging at the heartstrings here, Li White-Zi.
Ziwing Li. Whoops. Apologies. Ziwing Li. It's hard to look up and down at names whilst looking at who's out, so apologies.
At the back again, Lee now. So let's see if she can get herself through another elimination. She's done this so many times in a row now. Quick acceleration.
Collier's in danger, I'd say. Canada's.
And the crowd here are really enjoying Lee's tactics.
I think it was Australia. I think it was Alex Manley out in that one. Yeah.
It was indeed. Alex Manley is the next to go, and Lee at the top of the track continues to go through this race. So the Canadian on the inside went down onto the blue band, so she was relegated. Alex Manley from Australia was the last across the line, but Collier had just pushed down onto the blue band, which you're not allowed to be. No one to be eliminated from this group here because Lee, as you can see at the top of the screen, has decided to throw in the towel. Too many sprint efforts for her, and she's now the next one to go.
Not a bad effort. 2, 4, 6, 7th for Ziwing Li from Hong Kong.
So not always the last rider across the line eliminated. If you go down to the blue band to try and improve your position underneath, commissaires right there at the finish line can see that, and they'll make sure that you are relegated.
This is risky for Alex Manley. She's stuck on the inside.
Wollaston beside her. Nia Evans with a little bit of fight to do. It's going to be a struggle for Evans. So Nia Evans the next to go. She spent a lot of time on the front of the group setting the pace, so maybe wasting a bit too much energy. She did have a crash in the Madison yesterday also. But Nia Evans, that's a surprise to see her go.
Yep, she was second in the elimination on night 1 here. So it's still a pretty good result. You can work with that. But yeah, we're down to 5 riders now. So Clara Caponi moving to the front. Ali Wollaston on the hip. This is looking risky for De Derksen now. So from Denmark on the inside. So this is where it's getting to Groundhog Day. They've been out there for a long time now. There's some tired legs. It's hard to build back up. The lactic acid will be pinching.
Amelie in danger. So the former road world champion, the next to go, caught down underneath, and Ali Wollaston sensing that is about to happen as well. Didn't have to put in too much effort knowing that Amelie was going to be in trouble.
All right, so down to 4.
Caponi, Zanardi, Wollaston and Manley. Manley at the back now for Australia. Crashed in the scratch race. She's down in the overall standings.
Go, 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 go. She's lifting up the pace.
And
Pony increases at the front.
Wollaston trying to hold her off, and it looks like Manley giving up a little bit. You can see not trying to fight round the outside. So Alex Manley, the next one to go, down to 3. Caponi, Zanardi, and the overall classification leader in Ali Wollaston. New Zealander at the back.
So Ali won the elimination on night 1 at these championships. So she is fresh and motivated. She's got good legs and she's got a lot of confidence. And look, she's boxing in Zanardi. Does Zanardi have the time to back out and go around the outside? She's got to be careful because Zanardi's going to do the same to her.
Well, down the back straight, 3 wide. Caponi on the inside, and Wollaston loses out. She was trying to play the tactics, but Zanardi having none of it. Up around the outside, and she's coming back though, Wollaston.
Wow.
Oh, wow, the strength of the New Zealander. I thought it was all over for her, but she has fought on, and it's Zanardi that misses out. Wow, that was an extraordinary comeback in such a short period of time around the track. So Zanardi is the next to go. Wollaston, she won the elimination competition on the first night. So we've seen her do this before. Caponi goes into the final bend out in front, but it's Wollaston blasting around the outside. And Ali Wollaston, I think she was just playing with everyone.
Oh,
that was sensational riding from the New Zealander.
For anyone else, you would not have made it through that elimination. But because of her legs, she is obviously on fire. So she made a few technical errors there. Definitely made some errors, but she managed to recover because her legs are just too good. And then because she had a bit of a gap to Caponi, she was able to run at Caponi and hit her with a little bit more speed, and the Caponi had nothing she could do. So, wow, Ali is on fire. That was pretty amazing.
Well, she's dropped the shoulders there, dropping the head a little bit because obviously she's fatigued. It was a super tough race. The elimination is, let's make no mistake, it is a really difficult race to try and win to go that far. But gee, she made it look easy.
Wow.
She looks fatigued now, but she made that race look so easy.
Yeah, that is grueling. Like that, your legs are full of lactic acid every time you have to go deep. Here's Zanardi. She is exhausted too. Great ride from her to finish 3rd in the elimination. So Ali Wollaston, though, geez, I think she tactically had a great race until those last maybe 4 laps or so where she made a couple of mistakes, but she's just had the legs to pull it off, and she'll go away. She's still new to this. She's young. She's 22 years old. So, gee whiz, we've got a pretty talented rider on our hands here. Here are the standings after the elimination race, which was the 3rd race out of 4. Ali Wollaston on 118 points, 10 points clear of Clara Caponi from France. And in 3rd, we have Nia Evans on 98. So, Amelie de Dirksen, 94, and then we drop back to 78. So it's still pretty close. It's still pretty close. As we said before, points races, you can get 20 points in a lap.
Well, we talk up Ali Wollaston's performance, but Clara Caponi has been right up there as well. So 10 points, that can be definitely overcome in the points race with so many sprints. But this was the sprint to win the elimination as part of the Omnium series.
Yeah, I do think Ali's legs are just really good though. So she's very good at points races. She's got the pressure's on her though. So she's in the position. She's got the gold dangling right in front of her. There's a 100-lap points race, so 10 points, 10 sprints, all worth points, and then the final sprint is worth double points. So you can make mistakes, but she will be following Clara Caponi glued to her wheel. She also won't let Nia Evans out of sight, nor Amelie de Dirksen. She's got 4 riders to really focus on. If Olivia Balasaita takes a lap, she'll be back up into that next group. So they're just going to try and simplify it. So, yeah, all to play for still. Lots of mistakes can be made.
Men's sprint finals, and we've already seen 1 race for the medals, and it's do or die now for Yu Zhu from China. 1 down in the best of 3 up against Mikhail Yakovlev. This is for the bronze medal. Yakovlev, the big man from Israel. If he can get the win here, it's a bronze medal for him in the Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. That'll be a sensational performance. The second fastest rider in qualifying made a mistake in the semi-finals, but he seemed to rectify that in the first race here up against Zhu.
Yeah, it looked like he just wanted to use his pure brunt force, just go for it in that last round. He didn't want to make any mistakes, so he took the initiative and went for it. I have a feeling we might see something similar. I think he's going to make sure he unleashes absolutely everything. Zhao is a bit more tactical, so a bit more punchy. He's going to try and get Mikhail by surprise. So We've got 2.5 laps remaining. They're quite slow at the moment, moving up the track.
Well, interesting in the first race between these two. Zhao just gave Yakovlev way too much distance, but he's riding that slow, letting us think that perhaps he would like Yakovlev to go back to the front again. That didn't work for Zhao last time. I think he's better off trying to lead this one out and forcing Yakovlev to go wide and try and come from behind.
Ooh, Mikhail's gone to the front.
Good move by Yakovlev. That's how he won the
so.
first race. So I think Zhao may have made an error there. Let's see if he can rectify it. Staying a little bit closer to the back wheel of Yakovlev this time. Bell, as they come around the final bend. And is it one lap from a bronze medal for Yakovlev, or can Zhao take this to a decider? Much closer to the back wheel of the big man now. Zhao into the back straight. Big slipstream to be into as well. He's so tall, 6'6", into the final bend, but he's got the power, he's got the strength, and he will come through to get the win. 2 straight, and that gives Yakovlev the bronze medal here in the Track Nations Cup. So Mikhail Yakovlev, great sprinting by the big man to come away with a bronze medal.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. Great from both riders. I think Zhao, he looked like he was happy to run at Yakovlev. He was into that slipstream, tried to have a run up, but just didn't quite have enough punch to get there on the line.
Tactically, much better race by Zhao.
Yep.
He just didn't have the grunt to get the win. I like watching Mikhail Yakovlev, such a huge man on the track. He's so intimidating coming up against him. He's got the speed and 22 years of age, so he has so much more development to come. I hope he doesn't grow too much more.
199 centimetres tall, so 22 years of age, bronze in the Keirin in 2021 at the World Championships. So he's relatively new and he's popped up, and yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more from him.
The race for gold, and this is the man that must win this race to take it to a decider. Keiya Ota from Japan. Problem he has to beat the world champion to do that. So Harry Levraisen has won up in the best of 3. He's really been in control. Both the Keirin and the sprint rounds so far has been so dominant, the superstar from the Netherlands.
I would say that the last round was the most he's been challenged, though. I think Keiya Ota really put up a fight until he came out of that sprint lane. So if he just held it down, it would have been really close, I think. I think Keiya's, really had a good crack, given how new he is. So Keiya Ota, new to the sport, background in rowing. Levraisen, 10-time world champion. He's won the sprint 3 times at the World Championships and the Olympic champion in the sprint. So not his first rodeo. He's leading from the front, keeping his eye closely on Keiya Ota.
I reckon if he was in a rodeo, he'd probably win as well.
Yeah.
More powerful than the bull. Very slow, almost coming to a stop down the back straight, and Otto just skipping the back wheel, trying to keep the pedals horizontal to the track in case Harry Levraisen did actually come to a stop.
Yep.
Give himself some good balance.
So yes, you're allowed to track stand, but not for too long. So they're starting to build the pace up. It's 2 laps to go. Levraisen on the front.
High on the track in second position. Keiya Otto. A lap and a half to go now. And starting to pump the handlebars. He comes up around the outside. Harry Levraisen quite happy, content to let the Japanese rider go to the front position. 1 lap to go now. He's in the slipstream, the world champion. Levraisen coming to the back wheel of Otto down the back straight and squeezes up around the outside. Otto on the inside trying to hold him off, but you can't hold off the world champ. Harry Levraisen sails past the rower to get the win. 2 straight and a gold medal here in Jakarta.
That was great. Another great race that was completely different. Keiya Ota around the outside. I think he did take Levraisen by surprise, but he did go straight in front of him. Levraisen got into that slipstream, ran at him. He just had way too much pace in that one. I think that one was a bit more clear as to who that winner was going to be. So congrats, Levraisen. 2 out of 2. Doesn't go to 3. He will take home the gold for the sprint at the Jakarta Nations Cup.
It's been a perfect score for Harry Levraisen, undefeated in both the Keirin and also the sprint rounds throughout these 2 days of competition. The only time they did get beaten was in the team sprint, and they came up against the world champions from Australia, and the Dutch coming away with the silver medal in that one. But good sprinting from both of these riders. And with Otto being so new to the sport, we will be seeing a lot from him. As we will Yakovlev, the bronze medalist. The silver medalist is also on the right trajectory. How long can Harry Levrason hold on to his crown at the top of world sprinting?
Yeah, he's looking pretty good, but actually Matt Richardson did give him a bit of challenge at the track series, the Track Champions League recently. They went 1 for 1 in the Keirin and the sprint. But yeah, it's look at him. Just he's stoked with that one. I love it. I love it. They just don't get sick of winning, do they? They look a little bit happier after this round though. Like the round before, there was a couple of harsh words, I think.
Elite sport isn't fair, and winning is a very good sensation. The women's Keirin will be up next. So first up will be the race for 7th place. Then we'll see the race for the medals. And there is definitely a man that is not sick of winning. I'm not sure when he's going to be able to be stopped, though, from winning. Actually amazing to think that he's only 25.
I know, I thought that too. I was just like, oh, you've won 10 times national champion at the age of 25. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Well, there's the final classification results, and all of these places very important for the overall point standing of the Track Nations Cup for qualification for Paris. I know we've said this a few times, but for those of you just tuning in, these Nation Cup rounds and the World Championships this year are vital for qualification for the Paris Olympic Games. And that's why we're seeing so many of the world champions coming here to make sure that they do qualify their nation and themselves to ride at the World Champs ahead of Paris 2024. The race for 7th to 12th place in the women's Keirin. And a little bit of a surprise to see former world champion in the Keirin, Emma Hinze, coming up onto the start line to the race for 7th. Otto from Japan. Here we see Ursula Loss from Poland. Emma Finucane, bronze medalist from the sprint last night, the 20-year-old. And then we see Marta Bayona from Colombia. She got herself boxed in the previous round. Unfortunate for her. There's Emma Hinze, multiple times world champion, and Yinling Zhang from China. She's quick as well. So this is a pretty stacked race for 7th place. And before the Olympic qualifying series, point series really started, a lot of the riders didn't care too much about the race for 7th place. But now the points are so crucial that they take this with full gusto.
Absolutely, and each race is a chance to practice. It's a chance to practice tactics. Do you want to go from the front? Do you want to go from the back? Do you want to hit out early? Do you want to practice laying off the wheel? There's not many opportunities to practice at the international level. That's why these Track Nations Cups are so important. The Track World Championships are in August, so that's the next step up. So there are more points up for grabs at the World Champs, and then all of those points contribute to your qualification for the Olympic Games. So athletes need to qualify points, but also nations as well. So it's getting pretty tricky, but that's why there's such hot, fast, desperate racing. So 5 laps to go. This is the Keirin. It's a 6-lap event. So they go behind this Derny for the first 3 laps, and then the Derny will swing off, and then it's all up to the riders. So they'll be using big gears. This Derny will be slowly getting them up to pace, then they'll drop them off.
And the e-bike, is slowly picking up pace. 50 kilometres per hour is the speed they'll drop them off at. And because the riders are so quick, that's the speed there, 50. That looks slow. But if you go out onto your road bike, cruise around the streets, just try and ride down the road at 50 kilometres per hour without a tailwind. They're travelling along, even though it's slow for them, at a pretty decent speed. Emma Hinze decides to go round to the front, and 2 laps to go for her. Look over the shoulder, now just backing into them a little bit. Zhang in second position.
She worked pretty hard to get to the front there, so she's gone a long way out. She's got about 2.5 laps to go. We'll come around for the bell.
Rio Otto it is that's coming up around the outside. So Hinze now on the inside, accelerating in the saddle, holding off Otto. Bayona from Colombia in the blue, trying to come 3 wide around the outside. Zhang still tucked in second position. Bayona trying to come over the top of her, but Emma Hinze will hold on to get 7th place in the women's Keirin. Bayona perhaps picking up second when we have a look at that, just ahead of Zhang on the inside from China.
Emma Finucane also up there from Wales, so the youngster, 20-year-old. expect some big things from her in the years to come.
So Emma Hinze, she went early to the front and didn't want to risk it, just kept accelerating all the way down the back straight. Bayona, so just too wide, 3 wide around the outside. That's just too far on the outside to try and get around. And Zhang dragged into second place perhaps, or at least third, as Bayona has that extra height coming down the finishing straight. So she does get second. Finucane finishing off really well and not quite getting there for 9th place. So Hinze, Bayona, Zhang, Finucane, Loss and Ota. 7th to 12th in the women's Keirin. Now it's time for the big stuff, the race for the medals. And on the left-hand side of the picture, we see Christina Clonan, the Queenslander from Brisbane in Australia. Also Mathilde Gros, the world sprint champion. She won the gold medal last night in the sprint. Mina Sato, Umekawa, 2 Japanese riders. Heta van der Waal is also in this one. There's Emma Hinze. She'll be disappointed by not making the final, but at least some constellation that she has been the best of the rest in 7th place. And Elise Andrews being held up by Nick Flyger. For those of you that don't know, the national coach for New Zealand, also the husband to Anna Meares, one of the world's greatest track cyclists. I think perhaps actually the greatest. I think she's won the most.
Yeah.
In my eyes, she's the greatest.
So this is Mathilde Gros. So she won the sprint last night. She's a sprint world champion. This is Hetty van der Waal, 24 years old, from the Netherlands. 2 bronze at the Euro Championships last week. Fuko Umekawa, so she is one of the Japanese riders. And Mina Sato is also a very good Keirin rider from Japan, held up by Jason Niblett. So she'll be looking to get a big result. The Keirin is a massive event over in Japan. It's been traditionally a male event, but it's getting bigger and bigger for the ladies. There was recently a race worth $70,000 plus a Lexus for the win. Unfortunately, Mina Sato crashed out of it, so that was a big shame, but we'll be looking to see what she can do today. Off she goes. She'll go straight onto the bike. She has to go to the bike because she's pulled number 1. As you see, the other riders are settling into place behind her. So there's 6 riders in this event. This is the best for the final, first 6 places. That was Christina Clonan on the back. She's the Commonwealth Games champion in the 500 time trials, relatively new to this with a background in track endurance. Same with the rider in front, Elise Andrews from New Zealand. She was an enduro turned sprinter and she has had a lot of success since, known for her Keirin racing. So this is going to be an exciting finale.
And you mentioned Sato obliged to go into position number 1. So that is a change that has happened in only more recent years. For those of you that know Keirin racing from back in the day, there was a real fight for position right from the start line. They have stopped that. They draw for positions now, and you must line up behind the bike in the position that you drew before the start of the race. After the first lap, you can go and move up if you want, but you can't use too much physical contact. That was something that was also banned from past Keirin racing. 3 laps to go now. The bike comes off the track and Sato leads the way. You can see the gaps opening up a little bit just to give themselves a bit of room to move. And the first to do that is Mathilde Gros. Elise Andrews up onto her wheel.
Yeah, Mathilde Gros taking the initiative, going to the front. She knows she's got the pace, she knows she's got the legs, so she doesn't want to get stuck in the mix. Sato on her wheel, trying to come out as Elise Andrews is fighting around the outside.
They come around to get the bell this time, and it's the world sprint champion from France. Comes to the line, 1 lap to go in the front. Andrews fighting hard in the wind on the outside. Sato, she's in the slipstream of Gros. Now she's got some room to move. Can Sato come around, the world sprint champion? Oh, she's fighting hard into the finishing straight, and she's going to be able to do it. Sato gets the win here in Jakarta. Fantastic performance from her. Mathilde Gros also held on for a place, and Fuko Umekawa, 2 Japanese on the podium in the women's Keirin. Mathilde Gros forced to go early, just a little bit too early.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps. I'm not going to lie. That was awesome. So Mina Sato's got 2 silver medals at the last World Championships in the Keirin. So 2 years in a row. So she has got a point to prove. She's got to win here. She is hungry. So I'm so excited. That's so cool. She's such a lovely person, always with a big smile on her face. She's quite young still, 24 years of age. So here come the Japanese, 2 on the podium.
And she had to be patient because while she was on the wheel of Mathilde Gros, it was Andrews that came around the outside, and she just had to wait and wait for the fatigue to set in because Andrews was out in the wind. Once the gap opened up, then she could accelerate and step out to come around the outside. If Andrews was able to stay there a little bit longer on the outside, Sato may not have had the room to move.
Yeah, there was actually a touch of shoulders about a lap to go. So there was a little bit of a touch, and then they sat back in place. Then Elise has just exploded a little bit. So she went early, was stuck on the outside. And that's when Mina Sato's seen the gap and squeezed out. You don't give a Keirin rider from Japan a gap because she will take it. So she has popped out, taking the win. She is very excited about it.
They know how to create a gap if there's not one there as well. So Sato takes the win ahead of Gros and Umikawa. Elise Andrews just fading down to 4th place. Still a good result for her. Christina Klonen in 5th. Great ride to Christina. And Hetty van der Waal gets 6th place in the final. It was Emma Hinze, the former world champ, that won the previous one to get 7th. And these are all the riders that are getting some points for all their rankings towards perhaps qualifying for the Olympic Games. Well done.
She is happy. Happy about that. And why wouldn't you be? This is great. I'm sure she's got a lot of fans out in the crowd. Not a very big trip for the Japanese to head over here. So she will put on that ice vest. She is done. I think that's it for the competition now. She can put the feet up and relax.
And a lot of shoulder pats from everyone. So competitors, fierce competitors on the track. But it was clean racing. It was really good, fast, hard racing. Not really giving each other much room to move, but nothing dirty, no nasty tactics. So really great racing from the ladies.
Yep,
a lot of respect.
A little bit of a bump, a little bit of a touch, but nothing too nasty. Nothing that's going to change the result. And you're allowed. There's allowed to have a little bit of contact in these Keirin. So,
well, to quote a perhaps famous movie, they didn't bump you, they didn't hit you, they just rubbed you. And rubbing's racing.
What movie is that from?
You'll have to look that up.
What movie is that from? Come on. Tell us.
No, that's people at home can work out that.
All right.
Rubbin's racing.
If you know the answer, send it in.
Well, that was a great performance. Mathilde Gros, the world sprint champion, she went for it but didn't quite have the speed in the end. Faded with Mina Sato. That was a great performance for her. And let's go down and have a chat with her. Our fantastic winner, Mina Sato.
おめでとうございます。気持ちはどうですか？
ありがとうございます。ようやく真ん中に立つことができて金メダル取れて嬉しいです。
スタジオはshe said it was a good win. もう一回ですか？
もう一回？
はい。
あ、今の気持ちを？
はい。さっきの点数。
もう一回言って。
もう一回言っていいですか？
はい。
さっきの
気持ち？
はい。
あ、もう一回言って。
はい、教えていいですか？
ようやくネーションズカップ。
気持ちはどうですか？すみません。おめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。ようやくこういう大きい舞台で金メダル、タイトルを取れることができてすごく嬉しいです。
She's really happy to be able to win.
What is the strategy for the race?
She's really happy to have gotten a gold medal on this world stage.
ストラテジーはどうやったんですか？ストラテジーはどうだったんですか？はい。
今日の戦略は何だったんですか？自分が一番前だったので、とにかく強い選手一人だけ、マチルド選手だったり、そういう強い選手一人だけ出して、あとはゴール前で勝負するっていう気持ちでした。
So there were a lot of other strong riders in there, so I wanted to only let one of them go in front and then use them and fight all the way to the finish line.
Congratulations for the win.
優勝おめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。Thank you so much.
Fantastic sprinting by all of the ladies. But Mina Sato coming away with the win in the end for the Keirin. Great riding. And clean, fair, fast, but hard racing, which is what we'd like to see. Men's Madison victory ceremony is up next. And talking about hard racing, wow, wasn't that brutal? The Germans absolutely muscled that one right to the death. Strangled the peloton and come away with the win. Really dominant performance from Germany. 97 points they ended up with. 2 laps taken. and still strong enough to be right up in the mix in the final sprint as well. So great legs for both Theo Reinhardt and Roger Kluge. One of the oldest combinations in the race as well in terms of age, both riders in their mid to high 30s, but that experience really did pay dividends for them. Got to have the strength and the nous, the tactics to come and finish things off. But it's such a benefit to have that kind of experience. There's the lads all lined up, ready to go. And the Netherlands in silver with New Zealand, who were really duking it out with the Germans up until about 3/4 into the race. And that's when the Germans just sailed away with it.
Yep, they took a lap with the Netherlands, and the Kiwis were back. They didn't make an effort to go across, so I think that they knew what the limit was. They were just they had a crack, but then that's when it got a bit disorganised, didn't it, in that chase group of about 5 or 6. So once they had a crack, it was game over, and they were just going to have to keep fighting for that bronze.
Yeah, there was a moment there where it was the 2 teams out in front, but then there was a group of 3 behind. So it's pretty fair. The 2 strong teams out in front being chased by 3, perhaps not that coordinated. So the advantage wasn't really to the group that had the numerical advantage chasing. It was really the stronger legs in Germany and Netherlands that were out in front. Still great performance by all of these. That was a splendid race. I really did enjoy it. The race was blown to pieces so many times with so many laps taken as well. And a lot of teams actually losing laps also. Campbell Stewart there on the left, first of the New Zealanders, and Aaron Gate, who won 3 gold medals at the Commonwealth Games last year in the road race as well. So he's really had an incredible couple of seasons, both on the track and on the road. And now a bronze medal here in the Track Nations Cup in Jakarta.
Yep, paired with Campbell Stewart, who's no slouch himself, Olympic silver medalist in the Omnium. He's got a number of medals at the World Championships, including Omnium World Champion 2019. So he's very young, I think 24 or so. Yeah, he's got a lot of years ahead of him. He rides on the road for Jaco Alula, so he's been helping with the sprint lead-outs for Dylan Groenewegen. And he's got a pretty good punch on himself.
Well, you can imagine he's only going to continue to develop with the strength that he'll now gain from the road as well. Obviously a great tactician and speedster on the track. Put the 2 together, you end up with a superstar like Roger Kluge. Silver medal, though, that went to the Netherlands. And the tallest rider in the Madison is Van Skip, riding with someone slightly shorter in Yuri Harvick. Doesn't matter, though. The combination worked very well. They didn't contest as many sprints as the other teams, but they were desperate to go for laps, and they picked up 2 of them, and that got them to the silver medal. Yuri Harvick, really strong performance, and tactically, he's such a fantastic rider, Harvick.
Yeah, both of them are points race world champions, actually. But here we have our winners from Germany, Roger Kluge and Theo Reinhardt. So we spoke about them before. They're 2 times Madison world champions in this event, so it's not their first attempt at this type of race.
Oh, they were dominant. Early on, you can't really tell because it's a real ding-dong battle between the teams going for points. But once the race really got into the middle section, that's when Theo and Roger took control and absolutely blasted the race to pieces. So really strong and dominant performance in a race that's really difficult to do that. So tactically brilliant, had the strength to finish it off. So well done to Germany.
Here we go. Nice sweaty hug for everybody. Well, they don't look too bad considering they've run 200 laps today. Actually, they've done more than that because they had the qualifying beforehand. So huge amount of racing for them. They can put the feet up. They're probably all going to head back over to Europe for the road racing season.
Well, fantastic riding by the Germans, and we did actually get to interview them before the presentation, so we can go down and actually hear from the 2 Germans that were just so strong in the men's Madison.
Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nation Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia. Tell us how it feels like to win.
Yeah, very good feeling. It was not an easy week. We had sickness in the team, and it was a very hard week. So we are very proud that we can win that last race, and it's a big sign for us. So we are very happy.
It's been a phenomenal race for the both of you. Maybe tell us through about your strategy, the key moment for you guys in the race today.
The key moment coming first with this was when the Dutchies attacked, that we were immediately able to follow. Before we took here and then points, not really offensive from the beginning, but we tried to grab a few points, and if we could for big coins, we went. So we were actually in a comfortable position, and then after we could follow the move, it was the winning key more or less, and there we had the race in our hand, and we could really control it, and even had something left in the end. So we're pretty happy to go home like this.
Congratulations and enjoy the rest of the day.
Well, that was... I do like a good Madison, and fantastic to see the... with respect, the old-timers, the experienced riders coming away and just showing just how it's done. It's a difficult race, and it really does take a lot of time to master the experience and skills to be consistent. You can be a fresh team with incredible power, make a few mistakes and come away with the win, but to be consistent like Roger and Teo have been, 2 World Championships winning here as well, to have that kind of consistency, that takes experience over a long period of time. And that's what was displayed on the track.
Scott McGrory, Olympic gold medalist, got any urge to get back out there and do it yourself?
No.
Did you?
I was looking towards the back of the peloton and seeing just how hard it was, and the grimaces on the young Aussies in particular. Saw Ollie Bledden and Blake Agnoletto, and I could see the pain on the faces, and I know that that's what I would look like if I was out there now in my latter years. No, I'm happy just to watch. Women's Omnium points race, the final discipline within the Omnium series, and this is the toughest. We've seen some fantastic races so far to get to this point, and with the qualifying round in the afternoon, this makes the 5th race that they've had today, and Ali Wollaston leads the way on 118 points. Nice handy 10-point advantage over Clara Caponi. Nia Evans, 20 points back. Amalie de Jackson on 94. Then it's Balasaita just behind her as we go further down. So many points on offer. 80 laps of the track, 8 sprints. Every 10 laps is a sprint. 5, 3, 2 and 1. Double points on the last. 10, 6, 4 and 2. Double 20 points if you take a lap on the field. So much can change. She might have a handy 10-point lead at the moment, but that could be erased very quickly with a lap taken.
It certainly can, and it's not over till it's over. So you've got to be able to back up. They've already got 4 races in the legs. They've got another one to go. So the first one was a qualifying. So it's a big day. They need to make sure that they've fueled enough, make sure that they've recovered enough, make sure they've warmed up enough. So you have to. All these riders have probably trialed this sort of thing in training to make sure they can handle it, and a lot of them are a bit experienced in this. So. Yeah, it's a very interesting event. It's tricky because the top few that are close in points will probably be looking at each other, but then the next group will be wanting to get away because they need to take laps to be in contention with the medals. So there'll be a lot of people watching each other, which makes it hard to get away. But then, I'm sure we'll see a lot of the riders who are a bit further down going off the front. So that's where, if you're wanting to take a lap, you'd make sure you look and say, okay, which riders are going to try and take a lap too? Let's either look at them and try and work together, or you're just going to have to go on your own.
Ali Wollaston, the overall leader, she's looked so strong, confident. 2 discipline wins to get to this point. She won the scratch race and the elimination race, and second in the tempo. Almost a perfect score. Clara Caponi sitting in second place behind her. 10 points is what she has to overcome to get into the gold medal position. She was 6th in the scratch race. That's where she lost most of her points. She won the tempo, and then second in the elimination race for Clara Caponi. Nia Evans, she'd ridden really deep in the elimination. I think perhaps because we focus so much on the back of the peloton, we don't look too much at the front in those elimination laps. May have actually just dug a little bit too deep on the front, because it seemed when she was really put under pressure, she seemed to crack really quickly. But we know that she is the World Madison points race champion, so we know how she can bounce back. She's a real danger. Nia Evans sitting in 3rd place overall.
She is, and so is this lady here, Amalie de Dirksen from Denmark. She was first in the Madison last night, took a lap with her partner Julia Lett. So she's known for taking laps, and she's sitting in 4th place. So She's got about 30 points to get to move up into the lead, so that means she's going to have to take a lap. So there's no choice in it. And while she's out there, she might be out there and can potentially sneak some points across the line. So each sprint has 5 points up for grabs for the win. If she stays out for a couple of sprints, that's the 30 points. But that means she has to get away from the other 3 who are in front of her. So that is going to be a hard job.
And the neutral lap underway now as they come around. As long as they're all bunched up together, then they will be given the start gun to signify the start of the final race of the women's Omnium and the final race of competition here in the UCI Track Nations Cup, Jakarta, Indonesia. Thanks to Tissot Timing. They do a wonderful job for the UCI. And we now are underway. 80 laps of the track, sprint every 10.
So Zanardi swinging up. She had a great elimination, finished 3rd. There's Alex Manley. Unfortunately, she had a crash in the first event, hit the deck hard, so she's got a bit of work to do to get some points back. So it's all relatively calm at the moment. Everybody's settling in.
Well, there'll be some fatigue in the legs. Not too many of these riders hoping for a fast start, that's for sure. Try and roll the legs out a little bit, and in between each of the disciplines, they jump onto the home trainers or on the rollers just to keep the legs moving, keep them trying to get the lactic acid out of the muscles. But when you get back onto the track for the first time on the big gear, and the first acceleration, ouch, it really does hurt the muscles. Only the strongest will survive in a race like this, the Omnium.
Yeah, and that's what you have to take into account. So how fatigued are the legs? Do we need to change the gearing? Because these track bikes have one gear, so once you choose it, you're stuck with it. So maybe you'd go a slightly different gear at the end of this Omnium during the points race as you would a standalone points race. So a standalone, you'd have a lot fresher legs, it'll be a lot faster, so you'd often put a bigger gear on. But you don't want to get bogged down if you're tired, so it's a fine line. But a lot of these girls, they've raced a lot before. They know what they're like. Where also you have to take the conditions into account. So the hotter the track, the bigger you can go with your gear because it's a lot easier to push through the atmosphere. So yeah, there's a lot of thought goes into it.
Lena Reisner from Germany coming through and swinging up to the top of the track. 5 laps down and no increase in pace just yet. That's about to change, though, as we get closer to the first of the intermediate sprints. There's the overall leader, Ali Wollaston. About a 3.5 metre turn for her and a 2.5 metre turn for Clara Caponi. Next one to come through, immediately swinging up. Nobody wanting to waste energy on the front of the peloton at the moment.
Yep, so about 3.5 laps to go before the first sprint. So it looks like it's all bunching up. Everybody's ready for this first one. How deep do you want to go before the first one? And if you're looking for a lap, often just after a sprint when everybody's gone deep is a good time to hit it across the top. So as I say this, we do see a little bit of a move from Egypt off the front.
Zayed with a little bit of acceleration. She's down in the overall standing, so not to be paid much attention by someone like Ali Wollaston, but this is a good opportunity. If she has the legs, she can get some points here. Great little move. So 2 riders now coming together, and a little acceleration from Alex Manley on the front of the peloton as well. And they will be coming around to get the first of the intermediate sprints. It's 71 laps to go.
Maho Kakika has joined Zayed.
So Kakita in the black jersey going down the back straight. Now, this is the peloton. They'll be sprinting for 2 and 1 point. The 5 and the 3, that's going to be up the front here with Kakita and Zayed. Kakita it is that gets the 5. Zayed with the 3 points. And Clara Caponi, this is interesting. So she comes up to try and hold off Evans. No, she gets 1 point to Caponi. Evans gets over the top to pick up the 2. So the riders in 2nd and 3rd place picking up the minor points there.
Yeah, so it's interesting that there was a sprint between the people who were sitting in, 2nd and 3rd. So they're neck and neck because it's a lot of work just then to go for the 2 and the 1. So a lot of the time you would see people just go a little bit more, be a bit more calm, conservative, because there are still 70 laps to go. But this is what I mean. There's a race within a race. So these two are still looking at each other. There's only 10 points between them.
Kakita the highest in the overall standings of these two out in front. She sits in 15th or 14th position now. But if they gain a lap, which it looks like the lap is on, they go down the back straight. There they go. They appear at the top of the track. So if they can continue on and get around and gain this lap, then she'll jump right up the standings. Won't be in danger of the podium just yet, but she could go right up to around about 9th or 10th position.
Yep, so they're into the same straight now, so they're almost there. So great work by these two riders. As we see Rijmakers from Netherlands heading off the front. So she'll be frustrated with her elimination, so she's got some points to make up.
65 laps to go. It'll be 64 when they come around down the back straight now. So these two out in front, not too far from the back of the peloton, and pace completely off. They're not too concerned at all if these two come around and pick up another 20 points each.
Yep, so Kikita and Zayed Ahmed are making contact, so they will get 20 points.
We can see Kikita at the back. She could easily bridge the gap here, but she wants to try and hold off, but it's still 4 laps to go to the next sprint. So she has been determined. 63 laps to go now as they come through. So Kikita has got to the back of the peloton. Her and Zayed will get the 20 points each for the lap gain. They were hoping that they could hold on for another couple of laps there and go for that next sprint, couldn't they?
It looked like it, but I think they've probably made a good move because now the pressure is on at the front and you don't want to risk losing that lap. So once you've been out there, it's a long way to go backwards and you've got the chance of making 20. So is it worth hanging out there and if somebody goes really fast on the front of the peloton and splits it up again? So they're in the peloton. We've got 1 lap to go. You hear the bell.
Sprint this time, and it's Rijmakers, Marit Rijmakers from the Netherlands. She's been on the front now for a lap and a half, so it's a long sprint for her. Ali Wollaston just rolls up around the outside. She has Carponi on the wheel, but Wollaston, she's super quick, and Carponi is as well. Ooh, she had to fight for that one. I think Ali thought she was going to just roll across the line to get the win, but Carponi really pushing it down the finishing straight.
Yep, so 5 points to Wollaston. And Capone in second, so they went pretty deep. So now their job is to look around and make sure that anybody else who's within reach of them doesn't sneak off the front.
Good to see Capone really push Ali then as well. While there is a bit of a gap and the overall lead has been extended slightly for Ali getting that sprint win, but Capone isn't going to let her have it easily. She really wants to push her all the way through.
She does, and that's good. It's quite tricky because you don't. Whilst you are focusing on your opponents, you also don't want to let them complete your mind. You want to be able to be clear and ride your own race. So there's a lot going on here, and trying to keep it clean and simple and ride your own race is the most important thing. So nice that Capone is still going for it, as she should. She's sitting in second position. It's still anybody's game. There's a lot of points up for grabs.
9 points between first and second, 12 points between second and third, and it's only 6 points, though, between fourth and third in the bronze medal position. Alex Manley, she had a crash in the scratch race, the Australian, so she's been trying to get back up in the standings ever since, and this is an opportunity for the former points race world champion to show everybody just how good she is. She has forced a massive split in the field. 4 riders now going off the front, including Stenberg from Norway, the first rider to be eliminated in the previous event. That was a big surprise by her, so she wants to finish off well also.
Yep, they're also joined by Reisner and Mia Griffin from Ireland. So we have Switzerland also trying to bridge across sites. So this is a group of 5, and once they can get together, if they can work and be cohesive, then this lap is going to be very important for each of these riders.
Let's see how just they work. Let's look at the body language of this breakaway group. 5 riders, all wanting to try and ride up a little bit further in the overall standings by the end of it. And unfortunately, I just saw Reisner swing up immediately after Alex Manley did. So not that much cohesion between all of the riders in this breakaway group. There has been an acceleration by Zanardi at the front of the peloton. Rijmakers from the Netherlands also. No. But there's still a chance here. If they keep the pressure on the pedals, this breakaway group can force themselves away from the peloton.
Yep, so there's some people doing short turns and people doing long turns, so that means this is not going to work and it's going to come back pretty quickly. You can see them all stalling now as Rijmakers is bridging across. Good move from Rijmakers. She saw the threat. She needs to get there. She is surrounded by some of these riders, so this is, frustrating for those that want to get away when the others don't do the longer turns. So Coming into a sprint, though, you heard that bell, so these points are valuable, but whether these girls continue on after the sprint is going to be the question.
Mia Griffin from Ireland coming into the finishing straight. She'll comfortably pick up the 5 points. And with that little acceleration from Griffin, it has opened up the gap a little bit. Mariette Raymakers has jumped across to the group from the Netherlands. And the question now is, you'll see Griffith, Reisner, Manley and Stenberg, placings and the points through that last sprint. And we can see here Stenberg really trying to push the pace on a little bit now.
Oh.
And just behind this group, there has been a little bit of a split. So Reisner is really struggling. The German could not hold the wheel with the acceleration of Stenberg, and Alex Manley now desperately trying to get back across to that lead group. She should be able to do it, just trying to get onto the back here now.
We're starting to see a bit more cohesion from this front group. So they're starting to get into a bit of a rhythm.
So who's chasing in the peloton? Do they want to chase? Have they worked out the calculation? Who is out in front? Does it matter if they stay out there or not? That's what they're starting to think about now, back in the main field. The pace doesn't seem to be on. Now there's a lot more cohesion now with Reisner being dropped from that group. She was the one that didn't want to contribute to pushing the pace. She's now out of it, and it's now down to the riders that really wanted to be in this breakaway group.
Yeah, you can see Seitz is starting to struggle too. So she was doing some short turns, but I think by the body movement, she's not doing this tactically. She's doing this because she's starting to feel the pinch. So that's the other thing, is sometimes you think that these riders are trying to stuff up the momentum, but they could also just be on their knees and they're just trying to do their best to get through. So I think it's in everybody's interest now for this break to work. They need to get this lap to get 20 points to add to their tallies.
Of the riders in that lead group, it's Stenberg that is the highest in the overall standing, 75 points she has. If they take a lap on the field, she'll go right up into 4th place and really close to getting herself back onto the podium. So this is a great move from the Norwegian Stenberg.
Yep, so they're coming into 43 laps to go. That means there's 5 points up for grabs in 3 laps' time. So these girls, how are they going to do these next 3 laps? Are they going to fight each other for the sprints and ruin the momentum, or are they going to try and do it nicely and then continue on? So for them, the priority should be taking this lap. So that's half a lap. They're half a lap up now. And so there's not too much further to go, but the 5 points are important.
Peloton, the shape of the peloton looks a little bit better now. The average speed has gone up a little bit. They've strung out. You can see there's the group that's trying to gain the lap on the field. They'll come around to get the bell for the next intermediate sprint. Raymakers it is that will lead through the bell lap. Seitz in 2nd position and Manley in 3rd. Down the back straight now. She's shown some real strength, Raymakers. She's won a couple of sprints from leading out. And again, accelerating. Can they come around the outside? It doesn't look like anyone has the strength. Manley comes up to get 2nd place, but Raymakers from the Netherlands, 5 points to her, 3 points to Manley. Seitz from Switzerland holds on for the 2. And immediately Stenberg pushes forward to get to the back of the peloton and gain a lap on the field. So there's 5 riders with another 20 points that will be added to their tally.
Yep, that's a great move by all 5 of them. I think Ali Wollaston would have been quite happy about that, because that means that those 5 would be mopping up all the points away from her immediate competitors. So Caponi, Evans, De Derrickson and Zanardi did not go in that move. So Wollaston was very relaxed out there, but now the show will start to begin. We've got 38 laps to go, so Wollaston is going to have to be careful. Keep an eye on those riders that are close to her.
Another acceleration in the peloton, but what the lap gain does mean is Stenberg moves up to 4th place and only 4 points away from Nia Evans in the bronze medal position. So this is going to be a really good race now between Stenberg and Evans to try and be the riders on the podium.
Yeah, De Derrickson only 2 points behind that as well. So there are a number of riders now on very similar points. So this is going to get exciting. De Derrickson has been sitting in the bunch though, so she wasn't part of that lap take. Let's keep an eye on the Danish rider. She's almost at the back. She's about 4 riders from the back in the red and white. I reckon we're going to see a big move from her too. So she'll be feeling fresh, but now she has to get away from these riders that have just taken a lap.
She'll be a much more marked rider as well. So if she does go on the attack, she needs to time it really well, because Wollaston and Caponi, etc., Evans, they'll certainly be looking out for the strong Dane in the red and white colours. So we'll see what she does do.
Here she goes. I reckon she's starting to wind it up. Ready? Well, she's looking over her shoulder. Okay, she's at the front. Okay.
Didn't quite work. Timing wasn't there.
No, this is it. That's it. It has to be the right timing. But I have seen her do it before. So she's been marked before and she's still managed to get away on her own. She's very smart. Oh, here we go. We've got a move here from Yingting Huang.
Well, here we go. Another move. Now, where is she in the overall standings? That's the big question. Can she make a big move up in the overall? Rainmakers is the one that's covering this move. Yeah. 33 laps to go, so a little bit too far out from the next sprint to try and maximise the advantage of that attack. And it has been neutralised as they swing up going in through the bend.
Yeah, Ryan Marcus has done a lot of work now, so she was in that move before, so she needs to make sure she's recovering, not doing too much, because you can get a bit excited in these races. There's still 33 laps to go. The points are important now, so as they're all together, everybody's got a chance at making these points. So 5, 3, 2 and 1 across the line in 2 laps' time.
As they all bunch up, Alex Manley goes through and underneath. So she wants to try and get some points in this next one. Constantly looking over her shoulder. Stenberg, she wants some points. She's moved right up to 4th place. And here we go. She's going into this sprint now on the front, the Norwegian. She missed out in the elimination, the first one to be eliminated, and she's moving herself back up into contention. And it's first and second going for this as well. 3 around the outside into the final bend. Wollaston, the fastest of them. Stenberg, importantly, holds on for second position with Clara Caponi getting the 2 points for third. So the difference now between third and fourth and that final podium position is 1 solitary point.
Yeah, those 3 went quite deep there. Nia Evans sitting in the wheels, came across for 4th, so...
2 points then. I got my maths wrong. 2 points is the difference, as we can see. Wollaston just lengthening that lead of hers, so she really is in command now. No desperate moves required from Ali Wollaston at this stage. Caponi, also reasonably comfortable. Have they got anything in the legs to try and go on the attack and steal a lap over Ali Wollaston? That's the big question now.
Yeah, what I like from Ali is that when she goes for it, she wins it. So she chooses the sprints and she makes the most of it. So she's not wasting her energy. She's just increasing that lead. But she's looking a bit, she's moving a bit on that wheel there. She's starting to suffer. This is the first time I've actually seen her suffer this entire event. Starting to get that grimace.
That's definitely a grimace, isn't it?
She is human. I like it.
Well, it was a really hard-fought sprint around the outside. Stenberg was super strong on the front. Wollaston had to go really deep to get the maximum points. And then the attack came straight after that sprint, so that put her under a little bit of pressure. Yeah, Evans comes through, swings up. She's the world champion in this discipline, the points race. It's a little bit different at the end of an Omnium series, though. Huang again on the attack down the back straight, but everyone's onto that one very quickly.
And they'll start to swing up the track. So 25 laps to go. The time is running out if these riders haven't managed to get away. So De Dieriksen, I'm still waiting for her. She's going to go soon. I bet she's not one to go down without swinging.
You are willing, Emily, to go off the front here. Let's see if she's right at the very back. You can see third last position. Another little attack that's gone off the front. Lee it is. Alex Manley's gone out there as well. Now Manley has already taken a lap on the field. This is really close down the back straight. Lee swung up just as Manley was coming to her. Bit of reaction this time from the peloton. Now Manley has successfully manoeuvred her way around the outside of Lee. 23 laps to go, and Alex Manley, the former points race world champion, is solo off the front.
This is a great move. She's on, I think, around 70 points at the moment, so she has to do this. There's no point going for sprints. She needs to go for the big ones, and that is the 20-point lap take. As you see, she was aware. We had our rider swinging up just as Alex made contact, so that was an accident as well, but luckily Alex was aware, went up the track and has continued on with her lap take. So as we said before, Alex wasn't happy with her scratch race, obviously, because she came down hard, so she's got some points to make up. She has to do this by taking laps. She's already taken one, so here she goes again.
And she heads down the back straight. She can look over the shoulder, see what's happening behind. She knows she'll comfortably get the 5 points here in this sprint. And there's only 2 more sprints to come. What she was hoping for, though, was to get a bigger gap and hopefully go around and get a lap on the field. Stenberg comes across for 3 points. Now, that is really crucial. Yep. Zanardi was just in behind her. Nia Evans, nowhere to be seen. So Stenberg now moves into the bronze medal standing.
That was a big sprint from von Stenberg. They closed that gap so quickly because of that speed. So she was hungry for the points, but it was a shame for Alex Manley as Emily de Dieriksen is off the front. Here she goes, the signatory move, but Clara Caponi is straight onto it. And Nia Evans as well. They were waiting for it. They cannot afford to let her get away. If she gets away and gets that 20 points, they're in big trouble.
Well, Clara Caponi, she was straight onto the wheel. Nia Evans there as well. Now, the rider that we can see that's nowhere to be seen, that's the black colours of New Zealand. Ali Wollaston, where is she?
Oh.
Next rider coming through. There she is, the current overall leader at the front of the peloton. She has completely missed this move. 17 laps to go. The strongest riders in the race off the front trying to stop Ali Wollaston from getting this gold medal.
Wow, this is important for Ali. This is do or die. We've got Clara Caponi in that break. So is Nia Evans. This could mean a big change up in the overall tally. So Ali just has to go head down, just go for it, because she cannot afford to wait. And that's exactly what she's doing. Good on her. 4
riders off the front, and you can see the silver fern, the black skin suit, just doing everything she can to get across. Her race is to the back wheel of Amelie de Derksen right now. Forget about the fact that it's 15 laps to go. She must reach these riders in front, and that's what she's about to achieve. That took a lot out of her.
That did.
Forget about going for the next sprint. Just sit there and recover, and you can still hold on to that gold medal.
Exactly. She can just glue herself to that wheel. She can let all these riders sub in front of her. She doesn't have to work. She can just sit in there and just recover, because she has to. Now she's there. She's in the lead. Just make sure these riders don't get away from her. Sometimes it is easier just to roll through carefully, but just sit on a wheel and recover, because she is starting to hurt now.
Well, the way to describe what just happened was desperation.
Yeah. But the fact that she saw it and she went for it, she had no other option unless she wanted that gold medal to disappear. So it's hard work to try and commit and bridge those gaps when you're feeling so fatigued. But she's a fighter.
Miss Arena from Uzbekistan is the other rider that's out there that had just been caught by that group. So she's gone a lap behind. So she'll have 20 points taken off her tally. That makes 6 riders out in front. 5 of them are really the ones that are racing for these medals here tonight.
Yep, so they've got half a lap on the field, but that bell is ringing.
And it's Nia Evans that leads them through. Clara Caponi is the next one, and she's gone straight over the top of Evans. Zanardi from Italy trying to get in the points as well, but Caponi with the fresher legs, perhaps compared to Ali Wollaston, who's trying to recover still at the back of the group there. She comes through to pick up the 5 points. Doesn't change anything in the overall standings. She is just consolidating her silver medal spot. 1 sprint still to come, and the breakaway group has bridged to the peloton. They'll be getting an extra 20 points for their effort, and double points on the final sprint coming up. We have to now calculate, with so many points on offer in this final sprint, just what that is going to mean for the minor medals, because Ali Wollaston at this stage is almost comfortable. Not completely, though. 9 points is the difference between the gold and the silver at the moment, with 10 points on offer in the final sprint. So if Caponi wins the last sprint and Wollaston does not place, Caponi will win gold.
She will. So this is an important one for Wollaston. Yep.
And very important for the bronze as well. Only 2 points between Evans and Stenberg.
So now they're just updating the points, but that won't change the gap. So still, 9 points to second. And there's a bit of a gap to third, but the third is still up for grabs. So 10 points for the final sprint, 6 points for second place, 4 points for third, and 2 points for fourth across the line. So still anyone's game.
So Nia Evans, if she wins the last sprint, 10 points, she won't be able to move up more than the bronze medal at the moment. So she looks nice and solid in bronze. Caponi, though, has a chance, has an opportunity, but this won't help. 4 laps to go when they come around, and Twang has gone off the front, and if she stays out there, she will get the 10 points, and that will completely neutralise the opportunity for Clara Caponi of getting gold.
Yep, so this is great news for Ali Wollaston. So she wants this rider, Yingting Huang of Chinese Taipei, to stay away. And she's got a big gap already. She's got about a third on the field, and it's 3 laps to go. So I think Ali Wollaston will be okay. This means Evans is also going to be okay, because de Dirksen won't be able to get 10 points to jump up into third. So I think the standings might stay the same.
Famous last words. Let's see what happens. Coming around to get 2 laps to go now. And from here, she should be able to hold on. But when we flick back to the peloton, you'll see that it's Stenberg that has gone on the attack. Zanardi right on her wheel, and it's gone a little bit too early. She was hoping to get a gap before that final sprint. It's not the case. They'll come around to get the bell. Amelie de Derksen, Ali Wollaston in second position, Stenberg high on the outside. So Huang comes through to get the bell first. She might get caught, actually. I'm pretty sure she will as they go down the back straight. So 10 points on offer for this final sprint.
If the Derksons wins, then she'll get the bronze medal.
This is huge. Wollaston from New Zealand wants to finish off on a high as she comes up around the outside. Huang might just miss out. She does. Wollaston gets there. She gets the 10 points. Huang, she finishes in second to get 6. And Derksen, I think, with the 4 points for third place. So I don't think the medals have changed, but what a way to finish off. Leader throughout the entire Omnium series, had to dig deep when it was called, when the favourites had gone out in front. She bridged the gap and then won that final sprint. Fantastic riding from the New Zealander.
That is unbelievable. You saw just how much she was struggling to get through. She had to bridge that gap when her opponents got a gap on her, and she still managed to win the big points in that final sprint. Like, this is amazing. Look at that tally. Wow.
Well, what a great finish. And got a feel for Tingying Huang out in front. She did a great attack at the end. It wasn't going to change anything in the medal tally for her. She would have just liked to got to the line first. But second place across for her. Wollaston with a big move into the finishing straight. Nice and high on the track. Just getting over the top of Huang. 10 points to her. De Derksen finished off really strongly. You called it. She was sending smoke signals sitting at the back of the peloton saying to everybody, I am going to attack soon, and that's exactly what she did to gain the lap.
She did, but unfortunately her opponents came with her, so if they hadn't, then she might be in a different position. But I love that she still had another crack. If she got that last sprint, she would have bumped up into third, but instead, this is the final classification.
Fourth it was for the Dane, but the medals, they go to Wollaston, Caponi and Evans. Zanardi, she was competitive throughout as well, and Stenberg. Without that elimination mishap, she would have been in the medals, you would think. So great riding from her. Alex Mandy, she moved up after that crash in the scratch race. Good performance in the points race for her also. A few riders, unfortunately, didn't finish throughout the rounds, the crashes we saw earlier on. So best wishes to them. Hopefully they do get to mend very quickly and be back racing. Well, there's some joy. 3 gold medals, an elimination win, an Omnium and the team pursuit in record time for the New Zealanders in that TP. So great riding from Ali Wollaston. She has dominated the women's track endurance events here at the UCI Track Nations Cup.
And she's only 22 years of age. So, and these
Something
competitors,
about that age, isn't it?
Yeah, these competitors here, they've been around for a little bit. They've got a bit of experience behind them. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of Ali Wollaston over the next few years.
Clara Caponi, she did not let down though. She was going for it.
Yep, rides for FDJ on the road, raced the Tour Down Under as well. So she's fighting fit, and she's Madison rider, TP rider, part of the really strong French female track endurance team coming through. So yeah, they've got their home Olympic Games next year, so they're all on fire, working hard. So nice to see her finish in second. There's Zanardi and then Alex Manley, so she'll be a bit disappointed with that, but she did everything she could, tried to get away. Unfortunately, didn't quite get that lap as the timing with the sprint with von Stenberg. But yeah, she's a fighter, 2-time world champion in the points race.
Good attack by Alex. She was hoping for more hesitation from the peloton, and it didn't quite happen, unfortunately. Otherwise, maybe she could have gone around and got a lap. The peloton did chase her a little bit, and that stopped her from gaining the lap.
And that's the thing. So she had a crack, but the timing wasn't quite right, and then the next group went, and so she just had her attack, wasn't able to go with it. So you just got to go for it. It's just that you never know what's going to happen in racing. You just got to take the opportunities when you see them. But here is our winner. She is happy with that, and the crowd is happy with that. Big cheers from the Indonesian fans.
Well, let's have a listen. Let's talk to our winner of the Omnium. 3 gold medals for Ali Wollaston.
Congratulations on winning the UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Amazing ride. How does it feel to win?
Yeah, it feels amazing. I've really exceeded my expectations coming to this weekend. I had a really great opening day with the team pursuit and the elimination. So yeah, just to top it off today with winning the Omnium, yeah, it couldn't have really gone any better for me today.
Talk us through a bit about the race and what was the key moment for you in the race today?
I think the key moment was just resetting after every race and taking it as it comes. I went into the race with a lot of confidence today and just backed myself and knew that I had the legs. So yeah, I just had to trust that I knew what I was doing and try and execute a really good plan out there, and that's what I did. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Congratulations and enjoy the rest of the season.
Well, I think she'll enjoy the rest of the season. She's starting it on a high. Fantastic riding from Ali Wollaston. 3 gold medals at a Nations Cup. She's really on song. And you mentioned the age, 22. Just shows that she has an enormous amount of development still to come. So things are looking bright for Ali Wollaston's future. That does wrap up the racing tonight. Still the presentations to come from the fantastic performances that we have already seen. And we're going to the presentations in just a moment. Eddie, how do you feel Ali Wollaston, with the development, the efforts that she's had to put in, what sort of potential do you think that she has heading towards Paris next year? And there are so many medals to focus on, Madison, Madison, Omnium, and also the team pursuit. It's hard to do it all.
And the road race. She's very talented on the road. She's the national champion of New Zealand. So, yeah, she's got some choices to make. Whether she can do it all, can she do it all? Also, the World Championships this year, 10 days, all events in one. So yeah, that's the problem. When you're talented at everything, you're just going to have to start to pick and choose, because it could be hard to spread yourself. But she did 3 events here and got 3 gold. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Presentation for the women's Keirin, and in 3rd place, 2 Japanese on the podium, but in 3rd place it was Fuko Umekawa, riding for a trade team. Great opportunity for the nations to have that option, to have a trade team and give multiple riders just more than just what you have in your national team. The experience at this level, great for development and a great pathway as well.
31 years of age. So she'll be happy with that one. 2 Japanese riders on the podium. Very exciting for Japan.
Silver medal, that goes to Mathilde Gros. She had to go early in the Keirin final for the sprint, and it was just a little bit too early for her. Wasn't able to hold on in the last couple of metres, but still a great performance. She won the sprint on the program last night. She's the current world sprint champion. And not too long until the Paris Olympic Games, which is her big focus, of course, being French. Mathilde Gros, silver medal in the women's Keirin.
Of the 2023 Tissot UCI Track Nations Cup Jakarta, Japan.
And a tactically brilliant ride with the speed and power to back it up. Mina Sato from Japan coming away with the win. Tucked in behind Mathilde Gros. She had to be patient. Elise Andrews from New Zealand was trying to come around the outside. It was an arm wrestle, drag race between Andrews and Mathilde as they went into the final lap. And as Andrews faded, that gave some room for Sato to step out and move around the outside and take that gold.
Yep, Mina Sato is not a stranger to the Keirin. She is a major rider in Japan, and she's also stepped it up on the world stage with 2 silver medals in the last 2 world championships. So 24 years of age, I think we've got a lot more to see from her too.
Sato, Gros and Umekawa. Gold, silver and bronze in the women's Keirin. The Tissot UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia, the Jakarta International Velodrome. Absolutely splendid facility. The riders have mentioned this a couple of times throughout the broadcast, how they've been so complimentary of the actual track surface itself, talking about how smooth the track is. Hasn't been used that much since the Asian Games, but despite that, it was perfectly built, and they have really enjoyed riding on the boards here in Jakarta. The men's sprint presentation is the next one, and then of course see 2 more presentations after that. But the big men, the fast men, great competition that was as well, and incredible times in qualifying. Harry Leveresen riding a 9.3 second flying 200 metres. Just to qualify and go through into the first round in sprint racing at this level is extraordinary. If you can't go under 10 seconds, you don't even get a shot to go into the first round of racing.
And they had 51 starters today in the flying 200, so very popular competition. A lot of riders flying in here just to do that and test their pace and see if they can qualify.
This man qualified in second place and came away with the bronze medal in the end. Mikhail Yakovlev, tallest man in the competition, and really is developing. Talk about Ali Wollaston being 22 years of age. Same with Yakovlev. So a couple of riders with still an enormous amount of potential to come as they do develop and get stronger. It's incredible to think someone as strong as Yakovlev can continue to develop.
That's it, 199 centimetres tall. I love this. I just love that all shapes and sizes can perform. There's no standard. It's like just power to weight and a bit of hunger, whatever's in that mindset. So Yakovlev, he had a few upsets, but yeah, I think he'll be happy to finish in third place here.
Formerly riding for Russia, now riding for Israel, and the silver medal. Great performance from Keirin Ota. Now, he rode a couple of tactically brilliant races, and as you mentioned, Nettie, former rower. So for a rider that's come from a separate sport to then progress to this level so quickly, he's another guy that has a great future ahead of him. So good to see him pick up the racing smarts to match the speed that he possesses. Keirin Ota, silver medal for him in the sprint. But the world champ, I'm not sure how they're going to get the better of this guy. He's the dominant force in global sprinting at the moment. Harry Leveresen from the Netherlands. How many world championships has he won again, Nettie?
10.
10.
Yeah.
And counting.
And he's only 25. Jeez.
It's an impressive palmarès, that's for sure.
Two-time Olympic champion. Also a couple of those. Throw them in. Why not?
Throw those in for good measure. Harry Leveresen not too far out from the Paris Olympic Games next year. World Championships in Glasgow in August this season. So let's see what he can do, the big man. He rode 9.3 seconds, the only rider to go over 76 kilometres per hour over the 200 earlier today. So Leveresen, Ota and Yakovlev. Gold, silver, bronze in the men's sprint. And as you mentioned, all shapes and sizes. You know, what you'd have to be like or look like to be a sprinter, anything really. Just have the passion, put in the commitment.
That's it. That's it. That's all it takes.
A lot of passion and a lot of commitment, it must be said. Yep. Well, he really is the dominant force in global sprinting, as I've mentioned. But Harry Leveresen in the Keirin, the team sprint, the sprint, I don't know how anyone else is going to get the better of him, but that's what they'll be trying to do. So let's have a listen to the world champion and the winner of the sprint here in Jakarta. And a little bit of a surprise to see former world champion in the Keirin, Emma Hinze, coming up onto the start line to the race for 7th. Oto from Japan. Here we see Ursula Loss from Poland. Emma Finucane, bronze medalist from the sprint last night, 20-year-old. And then we see Marta Bayona from Colombia. She got herself boxed in the previous round. Unfortunate for her. There's Emma Hinze, multiple times world champion, and Yinling Zhang from China. She's quick as well. Now, this is a pretty stacked race for 7th place. And before the Olympic qualifying point series really started, a lot of the riders didn't care too much about the race for 7th place, but now the points are so crucial that they take this with full gusto.
Absolutely, and each race is a chance to practice. It's a chance to practice tactics. Do you want to go from the front? Do you want to go from the back? Do you want to hit out early? Do you want to practice laying off the wheel?
And everyone else has to come up with something special to get the better of it.
Exactly. That's it. He's got to stay on his toes, stay current, stay present, because every time a rider gets beaten, they get that a little bit of extra motivation. So he's got to keep on his toes. But at this rate, he's doing pretty well.
Women's Omnium now, presentation. What a commanding performance it was again from Ali Wollaston. And you can see Nia Evans, the bronze medal position, sporting some injuries from a crash yesterday. I think that was or it might have been the other day, the crash. But yeah, tough as nails. She gets back up, bounces back and comes away with a bronze here in the Omnium. She is the points race world champion and an integral part now of the team pursuit for Great Britain.
Yep, silver medalist in the team pursuit at the Tokyo Olympic Games, world champ in the points race. She's I still see her as quite new, but she has been around now for a little while and got a young team here with her this week.
It's fairly recent that she's actually gone full-time as a cyclist. I think she's a
veterinary.
Vet. Yeah, she's a vet. So she was working full-time and training, forced her way into the British program from results at national championships, etc., and then decided to just hang up the veterinary stethoscope for a little bit while she goes focusing on chasing world fame in cycling. So it's working really well for her.
Second place, Clara Caponi from France. She's a powerful sprint type athlete, so she's a very good Madison rider, Omnium rider, and team pursuiter. Great on the road as well, riding for Francis de Jeux, FDJ Suez for the women's team.
It is a different name, isn't it, compared to Groupama FDJ, the men's team. So Clara Caponi, she's on track for good performances at her home Olympic Games next year. And the host nation typically does really rise to the occasion at the Olympics. But Ali Wollaston, she'll be up there too in Paris. She'll be so much better than she is now because she's still on her rise to fame, 22 years of age. 3 gold medals here in Jakarta at the opening round of the UCI Track Nations Cup, the team pursuit, the elimination race, and now the Omnium. She was unstoppable this weekend.
She certainly was. There she is with her Wayan Kulit, her award, also trophy that she can take back with her. I have a feeling she might be heading back to Europe, might be heading to New Zealand, but she has got road commitments now. So there is the next Track Nations Cup is in Cairo. I'm not sure if she'll be lining up or not, but she has taken away 3 gold and maximum points for her 3 events, all helping for qualification for the World Championships and then the Olympic Games next year. So tick, tick, tick from Ali.
Great for the confidence as well and the state of mind. So she'll carry this forward, whatever the racing is, she'll carry it forward knowing that she is at the top of the tree in women's endurance track cycling at the moment. Looking good towards the World Championships in Glasgow later in the year. The riders really have put on a show over the last couple of days, starting with those team pursuits. Qualifying on, it was 4 days of competition, but we were broadcasting for 3 because they had the team pursuit qualifications for men and women on the first day. And super quick times, great to see results. And that's where Ali picked up her first gold medal on Friday in the team pursuit. It was a national record for New Zealand and several national records in amongst the men and the women's team pursuits. So combining really well. So sensational performance. Jakarta International Velodrome. It really has been a fantastic place for cycling in New Zealand, right to the very top of the medal table alongside Denmark, but a couple of minor medals for New Zealand put them with a total of 6. So fantastic riding from them as well. The Netherlands, we always see them up these days, especially the sprinters coming in 3rd in the medal tally, and medals all the way down through Israel, Spain, Italy as well. And one of the trade teams from Japan picking up a bronze medal also. So it's been great performances, Nettie.
Certainly has. What a big few days of hot and fast racing here at Jakarta International Velodrome. I know the Indonesians have been very happy to have a big international race here in their home country.
Well, it really has been fantastic. And we talk about Cairo being the next round of the UCI Track Nations Cup. Thank you to you, Annette Edmondson. I look forward to the broadcast for Cairo. Your input has been sensational, so thanks for being on board.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it from our presentation, our broadcast here in Jakarta. Thanks for joining us. It really has been a sensational 4 days of racing, 3 days for the broadcast itself. Make sure you tune in to the next round, which goes to Cairo. It's going to be sensational, just as good as it has been here in Jakarta. Goodbye.